the podcast that gets you caught up on everything Washington sports and beyond. Hey everyone, it's Scott Hansen from NFL Red Zone reminding you to watch Sports Ballers, the podcast that gets you caught up on everything Washington sports and beyond.
Welcome to the latest edition of the Sports Ballers podcast. I'm Evan Ash, joined in person by Corey Puffett and Eric Meyer.
Yeah.
How are y'all doing today?
I'm doing pretty well. Eric is over here covering up his mic so we don't hear him chewing on a cookie, chowing down over there.
Hey man, you put a bunch of cookies in front of me, I'm gonna eat them. I can't tell you. Oh, I feel like it's kind of like backwards though. You're joining us in person more so than the other way around.
Yeah,
but I talked first, so you joined me.
I guess suppose from a certain point of view.
Sure. Whatever.
Kenobi.
Whatever. Yeah. Whatever. However you want. It's your show. We're just living in it. So go ahead.
Okay. I mean, I guess we need to explain why we missed last week.
Yeah, it makes sense to kind of lead off with that, I think. You want me to explain it?
I thought you
okay.
started talking.
You're the host, you know.
Yeah. You started talking.
You did start talking.
I did start talking, but like in agreement.
Okay.
Well, anyway.
Yeah, so unfortunately last week on Monday Night Football, Bills safety Damar Hamlin suffered a cardiac arrest on the field after making a tackle. The game was stopped and postponed and never resumed. The NFL sort of made up a bunch of stuff about playoff seeding and how that was going to work. But Damar Hamlin has been released from the hospital. Yep. He's been talking to teammates and tweeting.
Every test that they've done on him has seemed to indicate that there was no pre-existing condition or anything, which on one hand might make it a little bit scarier because it makes you feel like it really can happen to anybody potentially. But you know, the most important thing is that he seems to be healthy. Seems like, you know, neurologically everything seems to be fine, which is really incredible.
Yeah, the fact that after what happened to him, not only is he alive, but seems like he's going to be whole again after that. Like usually when you see that amount of time pass when somebody's having a heart attack or, you know, loses their pulse, like you worry about, okay, maybe they can resuscitate them, but is brain function going to return? Like things like that. And that seems to be the case for him, which, you know, is a credit to Danny Kellington, who deserves the utmost of praise for his swift action in handling it. I mean, I think that I had read he had never actually administered CPR before, and well, that's a hell of a moment to have to do that for the first time on the spot. But, you know, on the other hand, somebody else pointed out there's probably not a better place to collapse other than a hospital versus an NFL football field, just because there's so many medical professionals on hand ready to act in situations like this. So obviously terrible luck, the fact that this happened this way, but also good fortune that so many outstanding professionals were in place to be able to save his life.
Yeah, but of course at the time when we would have done the podcast last week, you know, all this good news that we've since received was certainly not the case. He was still, you know, they put him to sleep so they could put tubes down his throat so he could breathe, and so they could have him on the ventilator, and you know, just none of the three of us were really in the headspace at that point to do a podcast and talk about football and, you know, the playoff implications of Week 18 and all that stuff. Like,
yeah, or how could you cancel the game, right? You know,
or that, or
like some people, you know,
or even just like to, like I was very much in a space where like if there had not been some little bit of good news about Damar Hamlin before this past Sunday and Saturday, I don't know if I really could have watched those football games. I don't know if I could have brought myself to do that. But the fact that like he had woken up, you know, he asked who won the game and then got the corniest answer ever. You know, and he was supposedly going to be watching some of the action on Sunday and wanted his teammates to play. And it's like, you know, if he wants his teammates to play, then, you know, I can watch and I can see, you know, the different ways that the NFL was, you know, was honoring him and just like, you know, making sure that he knows that the NFL community has his back and you know, is really glad that he's doing okay and is supporting his continued recovery.
Some other good that came out of this, Damar Hamlin was raising money for children.
It was a toy drive. That okay. He started it like 3 years ago, I believe, and I guess somebody found a link to the GoFundMe page for it, and it just absolutely exploded. Like I think the initial goal was something like
it was $2,500,
and I don't even know if it had originally hit that goal before like what happened on Monday, and then within 36 hours, I think it had exploded to like more than 4 million for sure. It might have been even higher than that.
I heard it got up to 7 million.
Incredible.
Yeah. So that is some good that came out of this. So I mean the way the playoffs work, the Chiefs got the number 1 seed, the Bills the 2, and the Bengals the 3. And apparently there's a deal that if 2 of those 3 teams make the AFC Championship game, then it will be played at a neutral site.
Does that involve the Bengals at this point? I don't think
no, it doesn't.
It does. Because everything I've seen, like they've chosen the neutral site now. It's going to be in Atlanta, but which I don't like. I would have preferred something like Green Bay,
Chicago.
Why not an outdoor stadium in the north? Like Buffalo and Kansas City are both cold outdoor stadiums this time of year. Why not just have another one of those? Or even like Minnesota, if you're really dead set on having an indoor stadium. I mean, I guess Minnesota doesn't make sense.
They also could be busy, maybe.
Yeah, like they could,
you know, the Vikings are in the playoffs,
yeah,
so
like that makes sense. But Atlanta, but anyway, that's only going to be if it's the Chiefs and the Bills who make it to the AFC Championship game.
There was a parameter in place where if certain ways that Week 18 shook out that the Bengals and the Chiefs could have played at a neutral site, but that would have required the Chiefs to lose.
Right, and they didn't.
Yeah, and that did not happen because like there's no, even if the Bengals got to quote unquote play the Bills and beat them, there's still not going to be able to say they still have one more loss than the Chiefs, so
what
they
I'm
can't.
not sure about is why they don't have this in place for the Bills and the Bengals if they both make it to the AFC Championship.
Well, I suppose because they feel like they both played the same number of games, and the Bills won one more.
Yeah,
so
the Bills still finished with
whereas like the Bills won one fewer game than the Chiefs, but they didn't have a chance to play the 17th.
Right.
So that's why they made the consideration. And I would say, you know, this, if you're a Bills fan, you can't really complain about the way this shook out for you because, I mean, if you're being honest, you were probably going to lose that game to the Bengals. Like if we're keeping it a buck, they were down already. They were on the road, and the Bengals were driving down the field on them again. Like that situation was not favorable for the Bills to come out with a win, and they basically get the 1.5 seed with this. Like they have to play this week, but they're playing the Dolphins. It's a walkover.
Yeah,
like they're going to smoke the Dolphins. Then they get to play the Bengals at home, presuming the Bengals beat the Ravens, which. Not much of a presumption there. Versus the other way around, they would have had to go to Cincinnati. And now if they get the Chiefs, they don't get it in Buffalo, but they also don't have to go to Arrowhead. Like that's a pretty big win for them in that regards. And obviously, nobody's going to be sitting there saying, well, the Bills got an unfair advantage. The Bills' entire situation came crumbling down because one of their players almost friggin' died on the field. So nobody cares.
Did die.
Yeah. He like so in that situation, you can't really say, oh well, boo-hoo, we got screwed by one of the most catastrophic things we've seen on a football field in like 50 years. Yeah, well, it's unprecedented. These things happen. So yeah.
Literally 50 years. I mean, the last time anything like this happened was in the early 70s.
Yep. In an NFL
And that
game.
Yeah, so it was a wide receiver for the Lions. I think it might have been the last week of the season because it was significant. He made his first catch of the year, was tackled. 3 plays later, he goes in the huddle and he collapses and he wound up dying. I don't think the players found out until after. Yeah, it was 3 plays later. He collapsed and died.
That's bizarre.
Yeah, very. But I mean, like, Damar freaking stood up and then collapsed. Like, that's pretty bizarre.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that is strange. I guess we can move on as best we can. The NBA is doing something. Apparently, the Warriors and the Spurs are playing at the Alamo Dome, which sounds cool. The Alamo Dome is a football stadium.
So why are they playing there?
I guess the Warriors travel well, maybe.
I don't know. I have no idea the why. I just know that they're doing it.
Like, when the Warriors play the Wizards, like, the Warriors travel well, so they play at FedEx.
FedEx is an outdoor.
It doesn't have a roof on it.
That's true. both solid points. Yeah, I don't know why they're doing it, but they've made a point to mention that this is going to be going on. There's going to be like 65,000 people in attendance for a regular season basketball game between the Golden State Warriors and a tanking Spurs team.
And the Warriors aren't really all that great right now.
No, I mean they've still got Steph, and Steph's back, so that's a selling point.
Are they above 500 right now?
No.
Yeah, that was good.
No, they were a few games or a couple games above 500, and then they proceeded to lose 3 straight games to 3 of the worst teams in basketball. Like they lost to the Magic, the Pistons, and then they got Steph back their last game, and they were playing the Suns, who had lost like 9 out of their last 10, and we're missing like 6 rotation guys. Chris Paul wasn't playing. Devin Booker's going to be out for a decent amount of time still. DeAndre Ayton didn't play. Cam Johnson didn't play. Cameron Payne didn't play. And Jay Crowder hasn't played all year for them because he's requested a trade, and they're just like, whatever. They basically sent a bunch of G Leaguers out there, and they went into Golden State in San Francisco in the Chase Center and whooped Golden State's ass. Because Golden State just isn't – they are not inclined to take this season seriously. It's clear that – I don't know if it's the coaching. I can't really say it's the players because 2 of their key players just came back from injury and were clearly rusty. Steph was a little off until like the 4th quarter when he started hitting shots. Wiggins is a little rusty. He missed like 15 games. And then you got Draymond and Looney, who have been playing so many minutes because they don't have any other big men, because their other big man is James Wiseman, and he's unplayable. So, they're just gassed. The only guy that's playing at a high level right now is Klay Thompson, and he's one guy out of like 8 in a rotation, and that's a short rotation for a regular season. Like, they need to make a move if they want to legitimately have a shot at this thing. And that's being said even though they play in the Western Conference, which is kind of underwhelming this year. Right? Like, the fact that the Warriors are 20-21 and are still, I think, in the 8th spot, and they're only like 2 games out of like the 4.
I'm used to the Western Conference usually having 8 teams with winning records.
Yeah, like it used to be. I remember the Suns one year missed the playoffs despite winning like 48 games.
Yeah.
And that would have gotten them like a top 3 seed in the East. But it's a little bit of a, I don't know, like last year people talked about the Eastern Conference kind of taking over and being better, but that really wasn't true based on the records. Like the top 3 seeds in the West all had better records than the top seed in the East. Right? Like Golden State was the 3 seed, and they were guaranteed home court advantage in the finals, even if they played the number 1 seeded Heat. So like clearly that wasn't true last year, but this year, with the way Boston's playing, with the way Brooklyn has come around after their slow start, Milwaukee's obviously still really good. Cleveland has come out strong with their new lineup. I mean, I have a hard time believing that the Eastern Conference is better just because it hasn't been since Michael Jordan retired the second time. But yeah, here we are. The Eastern Conference is probably stronger this year. Like, the Warriors could still, in theory, navigate the Western Conference and get to the finals just because I don't see any other team really as a compelling championship contender. Like, the Nuggets are good, but the Nuggets have flaws. The Nuggets don't strike me as a team that's going to go beat the Boston Celtics or the Milwaukee Bucks in a 7-game series. The only team in the West that has the potential to do that, in my opinion, is Golden State. But Golden State hasn't shown any inclination that they're going to take the season seriously enough to get there.
All right. Well, I assume this is Kevin Durant, former Golden State Warrior himself. He's hurt, allegedly. What is the deal with him this week? Because it's always something.
Well, he's actually injured for like the third time in the last 5 or 6 years. KD had somebody roll into his leg and resulted in a sprained knee. He missed like 6 weeks last year with a sprained MCL in a similar situation. And I think the Wizards actually injured him back like when he played for the Warriors when I think Zaza Pachulia flopped into Durant's leg after Marcin Gortat threw him on the ground. And but anyway, this seems to happen to KD a lot, and obviously
That was friendly fire.
Kinda, yeah. I don't. This one was Jimmy Butler's fault. But it was like Jimmy didn't do anything dirty, but Jimmy was driving to the basket and may have tried to embellish a call, so he went to the floor and KD happened to be standing right in front of him, and ouch. So hopefully KD's back soon. It remains to be seen if he'll be back before the All-Star break. They said 4 weeks, but that's basically up to the All-Star break. So why bother even? Just give him the extra 2 days rest and then another week's rest during the All-Star break, and should be fine.
Play in the All-Star game. That's important, man.
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, it's like didn't Robinson Cano get hurt in an All-Star game? He got hit by a pitch.
Yeah, Matt
Yeah,
Harvey.
and Matt Harvey drilled him in the knee or something like that. Oh my goodness. But anyway, yeah, hopefully KD's fine. It'll be interesting to see what the Nets do without him because they had been playing so well, but they played Boston. I think that was their first game that he didn't play in. Kyrie was trash, as he usually is when he doesn't have somebody's shoulders to stand on. And Ben Simmons scored no points. Like, literally no points. So, there's that.
Okay. Is that it for the NBA? Anything?
That's all I got.
Any Woj bombs?
Honestly, I didn't even expect to talk smack about the Warriors as much as I did, but Corey brought it up, so... I was just going to note the Alamo Dome thing because they seem to want us to note it.
All right. Well,
Noted.
yes.
Yeah, duly noted.
We have noted it.
We've noted it?
We have noted it. Yes.
Oh my god, that's going to be a title, isn't it?
Oh, jeez. The Orioles.
Hey, Sean.
Speaking of, the Orioles. So I got a text message this afternoon from a friend of mine saying that the Orioles had traded for Justin Verlander. So I flipped over to Twitter right quick and was scrolling because, of course, if this had happened, Orioles Twitter would have had a meltdown, right? They had a meltdown when they signed Andrew Kashner. So
Well, that was in a bad way.
yeah.
That became a copy pasta thing.
So Orioles Twitter would have had a melt up.
No, when they signed Andrew Kashner.
Yes.
Or freeze up?
I don't.
Is that the opposite of a meltdown?
I don't know.
Oh, jeez.
Well, Corey's feeling himself today. He's
Yes.
excited about his 3-day weekend coming up, and he's,
Yeah.
I'm excited about not having to teach or grade anything next week, too.
apparently that's a thing. Why not?
Yeah.
Because we're like splitting the
Canceling
semesters
school.
with the math experience. It's a new thing this year. That's what I was making the Kahoot challenge for.
What is this snowflake ass school thing you guys
Yes.
are rocking
No,
now?
this is actually going to be...
Back in my day, we had to go to school every day,
And some of us did our homework every night too.
and some of us paid dearly for not doing his homework.
Yeah.
They're gonna have a session where seniors get to learn how to change a tire. They're gonna have a session about
Okay, well, that's cool.
like how to like finance like your
How to buy a
money and
house?
stuff like that. Yeah, like all kinds of finances.
Well, I could tell him how to buy a house.
Stuff that like
Sucks.
that everybody always talks about. Like this should be taught in school, but it's not. Like this is an opportunity to do
Booyah.
that.
I like it. I'm in now. I was hating a moment ago just because I wanted to pretend to be a boomer, and and now I'm like, okay, I dig this.
And I get to run a Kahoot trivia challenge.
That trivia challenge was
took
pretty fun.
and enjoyed.
I did enjoy that.
You got a lot wrong.
I did. I was really disappointed in myself. The DeMatha stuff I could forgive myself for, but some of the academics, I'm like, how the hell did I get that wrong? That's pretty bad.
He forgot like acidic and basic.
I messed up the
which
pH
side-
scale.
which
Yeah,
side of the scale it is.
yeah. I know. It was really bad. I was ashamed of myself. I got all the music questions, though.
He did. He got those
yeah.
ones.
On the
Shout
next
out.
episode of Are You Smarter Than a Fifth Grader?
The answer is no. Okay?
Yeah. Back to the Orioles. My friend sent me the link saying that the source of his news was that the Orioles had traded for left-hander Darwinzon Hernandez.
Oh, he's
So-
very similar to Justin
Yeah.
Verlander.
Yeah.
Yeah, the same person.
They both have right and left arms, and that's where the similarities end.
Their first names both end in N.
Oh, well, there you go. That's something.
Yeah.
I would be remiss if I didn't mention that if somebody had told me that the Orioles had traded for Justin Verlander, I know that would be a lie because Justin Verlander can't be traded. He was just signed by a team. You can't trade you can't immediately trade somebody. You have to wait until a certain period in the season before you can deal somebody you just signed.
I actually didn't know that was a rule.
I didn't know that was a rule.
Well, I
either.
mean,
I thought-
that wouldn't make any sense. Eventually, okay, I'm going to sign a big contract with the New York Yankees because I want to live in New York. And they just say, yeah, you're actually never
Baltimore.
going to play here. That's not how that works.
Oh, okay. Well, anyway, yeah. So that was ridiculous. So with the Darwinzon Hernandez move, add him to the not list. That's the whole list of Orioles relevant free agents. Just nobody. We don't have any topics on your Yankees, Corey.
No,
have
you know,
they?
we did
has-
the most important thing that we needed to do this offseason.
And then another cool thing.
And then we did another cool thing, and we got Carlos Rodon. And, like, what else do we
Yeah, that's
really
you
need?
don't really need anything else. Y'all won the offseason. It's okay.
Yeah. when
Now if we
offseason
can
hit.
just, win the regular season and, more importantly, the postseason. That'd be nice.
I mean, didn't y'all win the rig? No, the Yankees didn't get the ones. Whatever.
No.
Moving on. Pete Rose has placed
Yeah.
he placed the first legal sports bet in the state of Ohio on January 1st, and he bet that the Reds will win the World Series.
So he'll also be the first person to lose money on a legal sports bet.
Well, that's not true.
I know
It's
that's
a
not true.
it's a
No,
futures
I know,
bet.
It's a futures pick, but the point still stands. His will be the first bet ever made in Ohio that loses money.
That's true.
Sure. Pete Rose still not allowed in the hall. So,
No.
You're not allowed in the hall. We did get pictures of him diving into home plate.
Oh
That
yeah,
was a
we
pretty good
saw his
statue.
statue. Yeah.
And several other cool people statues out there at Great American Ballpark. They had Johnny Bench inside because he's the best one.
Is he? Is he
Probably.
better than Pete Rose?
Well, considering that Joe Morgan is better than Pete Rose,
I don't know who
Joe
You don't know who Joe Morgan is? Are you kidding me?
You're breaking you're giving me a hard time about not getting trivia
Oh my
questions, right? I
God.
don't know who Joe Morgan was. Come on. In fact, Joe Morgan's the best one of that big red machine. He was easily their best player.
Unbelievable. There's a stereotype that Yankees fans don't know anything about baseball, and you're not helping. Okay? So, yeah.
Well, but you remember when John Miller used to call ESPN Sunday Night Baseball, right?
Who?
Oh my God.
Let's just get to something that Corey might
Just
know
completely,
something about,
utterly
like college
pathetic.
football.
Yeah. You need to mention Trevor.
We've been off for 2 weeks. Let's just say that. Let's just say that.
Pent up shenanigans.
Oh my God.
Trevor Bauer's suspension has ended, and the Dodgers got rid of him. So he cleared waivers without being claimed. So goodbye, Trevor Bauer.
Well, I didn't think anybody would claim him just because usually when you claim somebody, you actually have to give something up to get him.
Yeah.
But nobody's signed him either because
The Mets and the Yankees aren't interested up in New York. Like, don't think anybody's interested. Nor should they be.
Now I'm thinking about like my uncle Gary, who's a big Yankees fan. When Trevor Bauer was a free agent before all this crap happened and before he signed with the Dodgers, and there was talk about the Yankees being interested in signing Trevor Bauer, and he was like, no, we can't take him. We've already got Garrett Cole. They're both assholes. We can't have them in the same rotation.
Well, also, they both pitched at UCLA together, and they hated each other.
Yeah, that sounds right, because they're both jerks.
Yeah, so
assholes.
That's what he said. That's what he said. I was like, that's okay.
he's not wrong.
I knew the Orioles weren't going to get him, and now I'm glad they didn't because, But, it was... Yeah, Trevor Bauer can go kick rocks as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Anyway, let's go to the Duke's Mayo Bowl. Because
we did go to the Duke's Mayo Bowl.
University of Maryland beat 23rd ranked NC State in Charlotte, North Carolina, 16-12, and your boys were in attendance.
Yes, we were present.
Not this boy, but those boys. Yeah,
some of us
you
were.
boys.
Yeah,
the two of us and several other people.
Everybody was wearing red except me, so I don't wear red clothes anymore.
What color were you wearing?
Gray or something.
He had an Orioles hat on.
Yeah, I don't know.
Evan doesn't wear red. It's a Georgia Bulldogs color. So
yeah, no red. Anyway, it was a very sloppy game.
Red right now.
It wasn't pretty to look at, but still had a great time.
Oh yeah, it was a lot of
fun.
fun.
Got to see Coach Locks get the mayonnaise dumped on him. They showed that on the gigantic screens in there, which was hilarious. Also disgusting, but it sells mayonnaise.
I also can't remember. Did we see or not any giant panther balls?
I don't think we saw any genitalia.
Yeah,
we just saw like teeth and paws and stuff.
We saw the big, mean-looking panthers, but none of them with the Jerry Richardson themed gigantic packages.
Yeah, I think that statue was taken down
on account of Jerry Richardson being Jerry Richardson. Yeah.
You know what really like grosses me out about like the whole mayo, like dumping mayo on the coach thing? Have you ever like tried to like dump mayonnaise out of the mayonnaise jar?
Yeah, but they cut the mayonnaise with water.
Right, and that makes it so much more.
It's
gross.
even more disgusting. Yeah. I will say though, getting mayonnaise dumped on you is nasty, and I would never want to do it. But some of the challenges that they were doing, but like during timeouts in the stands involving eating mayonnaise, way worse. Like this dude put a big, he had basically a muffin top's worth of mayonnaise hanging out of his mouth because the rest of it was full of mayonnaise. It was nasty. And that was going on all damn game.
That is absolutely an abomination.
But we're talking about it, though.
And it sold mayonnaise.
Evan
mayonnaise. Put Duke's Mayo on his gotta need to have a whatever Bojangles,
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Put mayonnaise on fried chicken?
No, I dipped the fries in a little mayonnaise, which is normal.
I guess.
Well, the seasoning probably made that pretty good.
Yeah, usually, an aioli is a mayonnaise base, but it has spice in it. But I guess the seasoning on the fries can help that out.
Sasquatch got a disgusting looking hot dog.
Oh,
aioli isn't just mayonnaise though.
And then he was too hungry. He wanted to go.
I was scared you were gonna say that he put mayonnaise on his hot dog.
No, he ate this. He ate this crappy looking hot dog, and then
so dry.
And then it looked absolutely repulsive. And
a dry hot dog.
And then we're trying to go to Carowinds after the game. He's like, "We gotta go cook out right now because I'm starving." I'm like, "No, dude, we're going to cook out after the theme park.
Yeah,
it's open late. That's when we're going to cook out." And I had to twist his arm, to do the right thing here. But we got there eventually.
Yeah, you had to stop for coffee on the way out of the stadium.
Yeah, because he drank too much.
Oh my god, need a coffee.
That's shocking.
Coffee people drive me crazy.
I know you just can't stand coffee people.
I've never seen him drink anything at a game before. Certainly not in the Caps game on my birthday.
Oh, that
and before the game too. Well, see, that was the difference. Is I drank quite a bit before the game, but I stopped once we got to the game, and I was pretty sober, probably by the end of the first period, and then for the rest of the game, I was good. I was sobering up at the start of the game, by the time the first period was over, I was good. Sassuolo was still drinking. Yeah, he was heading the opposite direction. Oh my god, that was quite something. And Sassuolo was arguing some ridiculous ball clearly hit the ground, incompletion type of situation. Sassuolo's like, but is it indisputable? I'm like, well, the football is on the turf and not in somebody's hand. So yes, it's indisputable. But can you really tell? I'm like, yes. And they come back and they say, yeah, after review, the pass is incomplete. Boo! And I'm like, no. No. Like, what are you talking about? Like, oh my god.
Yeah. They showed it on the gigantic screen
Yes.
directly to our right.
Oh my god, it was something else.
It was
Kudos
very clear.
to you guys for being able to put up with that. Cause
Hey, we had a good time. Like, I was having
we
fun.
went to a bar beforehand. I wasn't driving anywhere. So,
I had to drive to Carowinds after the game, but
because somebody was.
because the driver was not capable, given his consumption levels.
Went to Bojangles. It was delicious at the stadium. I did put some mayonnaise on the fries afterward. We were at the Mayo Bowl. They're just giving out mayonnaise.
There's mayonnaise everywhere, dude.
Yeah, I'll take a pack of it, sure. We went to Carowinds
makes me
after.
wonder what they do at the military bowl for fans.
Oh dear.
You give him some bullets.
America.
Yeah.
God, probably give him a little American
The
flag.
Gator Bowl.
Yeah.
Everybody gets a live alligator.
I mean, it
Yeah,
is
just
in
get
Florida.
fried gator.
Yeah.
They
It's in
eat that
Florida.
shit
There's
stuff in New Orleans, so There you go.
31 minutes and 20 seconds.
Oh jeez. Anyway, yeah. Get to the other 4 New Year's Six bowls before we worry about the atrocity that the American people have had to witness the last 13 months. Capital One Orange Bowl, appropriately named. Tennessee beat Clemson 31-14. All-State Sugar Bowl, Alabama beat Kansas State 45-20. Goodyear Cotton Bowl Classic, Tulane beat USC 46-45, and Tulane came back to win by scoring 16 points in the last 4 minutes.
Absolutely abysmal by USC. How do you let that happen?
I should have bet on that game, right? I knew that was going to happen. I knew TCU. We'll get to them. Tulane was gonna win because USC didn't finish the season strong. Like they were sort of in the CFP mix, and then they got.
They were in, man.
Yeah.
They were in if they won.
Yeah, they were 4. They got boat raced by Utah, and they fell out of the CFP. So a lot of teams that fall out of the CFP late, they go play a lesser bowl game, and they're not as motivated. And particularly playing a group of 5 team that gets their 1 New Year's Six bowl invite, like a Tulane team, they're going to be ready to play. So Tulane, former member of the SEC back in the day. Let's see, the Rose Bowl game presented by Prudential. Penn State beat Utah 35-21.
Not the guys on that Penn State team.
Oh, good for them.
Yeah, I know that they made sure to let everybody know as you're leaving Baltimore on 95 South how many local kids go to Penn State with their giant billboard. I think it's great. I think it's really funny. Some people get really upset. And
a lot of people around here don't like Penn State because Maryland has had a little bit of a rivalry with them. Even before Maryland joined the Big Ten.
They used to play every year. Yeah. And Penn State would always crush Maryland.
Yeah.
Anyway, TCU survives Michigan's comeback effort. That was a crazy game. We were on our way back from Charlotte that Saturday afternoon, and I check my phone periodically. TCU's up big, and then Michigan gets a little closer. And TCU's up big, Michigan gets a little closer. TCU's up big late, and then all of a sudden it's a 6-point game.
Yeah.
So that was crazy. Michigan was stopped on 4th down, but they reviewed the play for targeting, I think inside of a minute left. And it took multiple minutes to review for targeting, which would have been an automatic 1st down Michigan, but there was no targeting. And
It looked like targeting, but
it kind of, I saw why they wanted to review it, but you know.
it looked like they reviewed it to humor people, and they watched it and were like, "Ooh, that actually kind of looks like targeting," and they're like, "But no, we're not gonna extend the game because of a call because we went to review this on a ridiculous play in the first place where like it was a fumbled snap, and the ball got loose, and then somebody picked it up." And then tried to throw a forward pass, which I guess you're allowed to do if you don't have anybody ineligibly downfield. And then the guy was tackled via helmet-to-helmet collision, and I was like, kind of like targeting, but Michigan didn't deserve to win that game. They absolutely blew it. I recall because we got back to my place with about 3 minutes to go in the game, and the three of us went up there to watch it. And Evan sees this tackle happen on 4th down, turnover on downs. TCU's going to win. He goes to use the bathroom, and he
about to go home.
And he comes out, and it's like, yeah, the game's not over. It's like, what? Yeah, they're still reviewing that play that you decided the game was over on. You're like, okay.
Game looked like it was over.
Yeah, I thought it was over.
Yeah.
It turns out it was over. So, you know, just wasting time.
Yes. So later that night, in the Peach Bowl, Georgia beat Ohio State 42-21.
42-41.
Or 42-41. Yeah. On a missed field goal at the buzzer by Noah Ruggles, the Ohio State kicker.
As the clock was striking midnight
Yes.
and ringing in the new year,
Yes.
and people watching this game in Columbus at a sports bar had balloons rain down on them inside the bar.
That is amazing. I love that. I love that. And I was rooting for them too, and I love that.
Was it the Urban Meyer bar?
I don't.
That would be pretty
was
cool.
The case, but that'd be even better.
It'd be even better if Urban was there. You know?
Probably was there.
Yeah, maybe he was.
Somebody other than his wife.
Jeez. Yeah, that was because I was watching the game, and I was getting really pissed off because I'm like, you know, football mind here. I was like, okay, this is going to be the last play. We've got how much time is it going to take between them lining up, the timeout to ice the kicker, the meandering because it's a national televised game, and then getting set and kicking the ball. And I was just like, I got to turn it back to Dick Clark's Rockin' New Year's Eve, or else people are going to get really upset with me. I got to make sure there's at least 30 seconds to count down from. I don't want to kill the moment. I was like, all right, fine. I paused the game right as they were lining up to kick, and I went back and I saw the ball drop. Happy New Year. Woo! Champagne clink. All that shit going on. And I said it again. And then...
I don't think Corey noticed.
Yeah, and then...
What's the timestamp right now?
Yeah, you got to book that.
Oh, did you just do it again?
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Hello?
This is
What podcast are you listening to right now?
what podcast are you producing?
Well, now I'm getting so used to it.
Hey,
I don't
this is
even
what
notice it
happens.
anymore.
This is what
I'm
happens
becoming-
when-
I'm becoming numb to it.
This is what happens when you take 2 weeks off. You know, it's crazy. Anyway, so I flipped back to the game at like 12:02. And nobody had blown up my phone, so I'm like, what's going on here? Like, why isn't anybody telling me what's going on? No, I figured Sasquatch would be like, oh my god. I didn't know what you were doing. I was like, I don't know where you were. So I flip over, and they snap the ball. Ball gets kicked. I immediately turned it back. I was like, that's not going in. Like that ball went that way, and it needed to go that way. I was like, yeah, okay, we're done. Ohio State blew it, and it was frustrating me so much because
It's frustrating you.
sure, nobody. This isn't an oppression Olympics here, Evan. We can both be frustrated, even though you were more frustrated. But it's just like they got to, I guess, the 33, 34-yard line, whatever, you know, wherever they ended up kicking the ball from, and they had plenty of time.
They just sat on the ball.
And it's just like they just milled around. It's like, no, get closer. You don't have a good kicker.
You have a college kicker.
There's no such thing as a good kicker in college. They all suck. You got to get really close. And they just kind of like, whatever. And there's another play where it was 2nd and 5, and they turned it into
think they
3rd
got
and
sacked or
17.
something. Yeah.
And it's just like they were up by 13 points or something, or 10 or whatever, and they give up this huge touchdown to a wide open receiver. And I'm just like, what are y'all doing? Like, C.J. Stroud is lighting up the Georgia defense the whole game, and they're like, let's run the ball. I'm like, what are you doing, Ryan Day? Like, the only way you were going to win this game was because you had a future NFL quarterback and they had a bum. Because I don't care what anybody says about Stetson Bennett the fourth. Because, oh my God, he's a Heisman candidate and he's done all this stuff. I'm like, he sucks. He can't play. He's just a guy that has 40 NFL players on his team, and he ain't one of them. You've got a guy. Use him. That's how you're going to win a game like this. And he went away from him.
Also, Ryan Day failed to run the ball in run-the-ball situations.
Maybe they thought their kicker was Roberto Aguayo. He was a good kicker in college.
He was an excellent kicker in college. I don't know what happened to him.
He had one blocked and taken back to the house in Atlanta as well. So,
I think Roberto Aguayo scored more points that season than the other team did against FSU. Just on field goals and extra points. He scored more points than Florida State's opponents.
This is the
That's impressive.
Jameis.
This is the championship year, yeah.
Okay.
Because like they beat people like 63-0, and so it's like you got 0 points and he got 9. Like,
Yeah.
So
Alex Mayo says trying to have a kicker kick 50 yards from college hashes is just poor coaching.
yes,
That's
very
true
poor
too.
coaching.
Yeah, I mean, the hashes are so much
yeah,
wider.
so much wider. Yeah, that
It's
kick's
ridiculous.
impossible.
Like, so when I was watching the because we had the college football playoff games on when I was at my mom's house. I was over at my parents' house because my mom's birthday is on New Year's Eve, and I always go over there and we watch the ball drop and everything. But we had the TCU Michigan game on earlier in the day, and we were watching on ESPNU. So we were getting like the telecast version where you have
The
two
megacast.
you have two different camera angles. You have the side view that you typically get, but you also had the view from behind the quarterback. And then they also had like two cameras on the coaches, which was weird. Like, why do we need all that? And they had like a thing in the middle with the stats. But like watching the view from behind the play, I'm like, I don't think I ever realized just how little space there is between the hash mark and the sideline in college football.
Mm-hmm.
That is not a lot of space.
Nope, it's crazy.
Yeah.
It's really crazy. So
Yeah.
definitely like trying to have somebody kick a field goal from the hashes from any distance is kind of crazy, but particularly from 50.
Yeah,
A college kid.
all I know is that when the hash is probably a solid 15 yards to 20 yards outside the goalpost, and you need to get it to go right, and the ball comes off your foot and it starts going left, I'm like, okay, we're done. Like,
Even if the ball starts to spin the other way,
Doesn't matter. It's not
gonna-
happening.
It's not going to move enough.
So the ball was kicked, I think, right at midnight, and I was at home by this point. My mom's like, "Happy New Year," and I'm like,
it took a little while for you to show up on the Sasquatch chat with an incredible rant.
"Yes, I was despondent." Whatever. Like, he's got to be kidding me.
How were you the following week?
Well, you knew it was coming.
Yeah, the following week, I mean, it
Did
was
you know it was
an
going to be
inevitability.
65-7?
You
didn't think it was gonna be that bad.
Moving on to what was my rant in the Sasquatch chat? What did I even say?
I'm sure I've already required enough bleeps for the day, so I won't say it
I was going
verbatim.
to say we're going to have to redact more.
No more beeps. I'll try my best, but
Well, anyway.
certainly not going to intentionally do it. But yeah, you can move on while I find
so-
that gym.
The next week on that Monday night, I think TCU was like 13-point underdogs or something. And TCU stands for Texas Christian University. And God's capable of all things except preventing this beatdown. So,
Maybe he was mad at them.
yeah.
Maybe
it's
he was the
not
maybe he was
even
the architect
close,
of the beatdown.
y'all. Not even close. Some days you get waffled, right? And then some days you lose by the largest margin in the history of any bowl game. So, great. Apparently there are grown people, just barking in the street because that's something that grown people do, or people at all.
Georgia scored the final 55 points of that game.
Unbelievable.
It was an unfortunate Robert Griffin III tweet when Georgia was up 10-0 to start the game, and then TCU scored a touchdown and tweeted something about the comeback frogs or something like that. This is what they've done all year, and it's just like, They didn't score again. And they gave up a lot more points. So
It was kind of like Jim Irsay's tweet after that first Colts win against the Raiders after they hired Jeff Saturday. And
Yes.
then the Colts proceeded to
And then
lose
what
7
happened?
straight games to end the season.
Yes. I think it's worth pointing out this game was in Los Angeles on like January 9th. And there was torrential rain in Los Angeles this past week. And the stadium in LA has a roof, but it doesn't have walls to keep the weather out, because the weather's usually perfect in Los Angeles. But it was a torrential downpour, and there's just water pouring in the wide open sides of the stadium. So I was listening to a podcast, and they had the producer turn the TikTok camera on, and he's talking about how he's a TCU fan and went to the game, and how he spent a whole bunch of money on some nosebleed seats and got drenched with rain while his team was getting toasted.
It's brutal.
Yeah.
So not too many profanities in this multi-message rant. It started with, "You have got to be kidding me," in all caps. Ohio State blew it, in all caps. That 2nd and 5 play, they lost 12 yards, in all caps. And then he tagged me and said, put Ryan Day on your list.
In all caps.
In all caps. Way ahead of you there. And then finished it off with a singular F-bomb in all caps.
He's got to be kidding me. So I guess we move on somehow. On to the NFL. The Ravens, I had a great week this past week. The Ravens also lost badly. So they've successfully backed into the playoffs, and they're currently preparing to get unceremoniously bounced from the playoffs by the Cincinnati Bengals this coming Sunday night.
Who y'all just played this past week.
Yes.
Same spot, too.
Why does it always seem to be the NFC or the AFC North where this happens, where two teams play against each other in week 17 and then play again in the wild card round?
Well, now it's week 18 because...
Well, yes. Thank you.
at a game.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I can't
Ridiculous.
think of another time that's happened, but I mean, maybe it's just because the AFC North has good teams in it regularly.
That's true. They usually have,
Multiple teams in the playoffs.
yeah.
Yeah. Didn't.
Fair.
So linebacker Roquan Smith has signed an extension. Extension is worth $100 million, including $45 million fully guaranteed and $60 million in total guarantees. So good for
What's the difference
Roquan.
between fully guaranteed and totally guaranteed?
I have no idea.
I think the total might include,
Like signing bonus or
yeah,
something.
like some amount of money that's guaranteed if you show up healthy to camp or something like that. I don't know.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anyway,
So
moving on.
yeah. And Lamar still hasn't practiced. He's not healthy. He had a PCL sprain, I believe, and it's healing slowly. So Tyler Huntley is going to start on
Is that
Sunday night.
confirmed? Because it was not at 5 p.m. today.
Oh,
The Ravens still were not sure who was going to start this weekend because Tyler Huntley himself has said he's not sure if he'll be able to play.
whatever.
Right, so but they knew it wasn't going to be Lamar,
Right,
which
we
is
know
really
it's not
all
gonna
that
be Lamar.
matters.
If it's not Lamar, it doesn't matter, right?
Honestly, if it was Lamar, I don't know if it would matter right now.
They'd have a much better shot.
Yeah.
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 I think the Bengals would still win.
I think so
Probably.
too.
On our takeaways from week 17 and 18, Brock Purdy is pretty good. Who put this in here?
I didn't put that in there.
I put it in there.
Mm-hmm.
This was after week 17 when we were
Okay.
going to have a podcast, but it did not. Yeah, Brock Purdy's been,
Pretty good.
yeah.
You should bleep that out along with my indiscretions.
No, he's played very well this season. That offense in San Francisco is built for quarterbacks to be able to do a lot with a little, and by that I mean like with a little bit of skill. Like you don't have to have a ton of skill to be really productive in that offense. Like, Eric, you sent it to us this week that Jimmy Garoppolo has the highest DVOA in the NFL this season among qualifying passers.
He had a 30-plus DVOA. I didn't actually look it up, but I thought about it. I bet you if you looked up the total number of quarterbacks that have hit that mark at some point in their career, like dating back to like 1983 or whatever they have the data for, it's probably less than 30. Yeah.
And certainly not anybody that we would put like on the same level as Jimmy Garoppolo. Like everybody's way higher than Jimmy Garoppolo. We're talking like Peyton Manning's and Tom Brady's and Phillip Rivers and Aaron Rodgers and Drew Brees and like, those kinds of players.
Yeah, they make up the vast majority of them. Yeah. Joe Montana, Dan Marino. We're not talking
people with gold jackets.
Good quarterbacks, not Jimmy Garoppolo.
Like even the guys like the guys that are like top 5 to 8 every year. Who'd you say?
Apparently has Steve Smith instead of Steve Young.
Well, that's wrong, but it's like Jimmy Garoppolo. Like normally, a 30-plus DVOA under normal circumstances puts you in the MVP conversation. And Jimmy Garoppolo nowhere near the MVP conversation, so it kind of just goes to show you how much that offense really does. I mean, how often do we see Jimmy Garoppolo throw this absolute duck of a ball on a screen pass or a quick slant to Deebo Samuel, where he had to like stop, go back, moss a guy that was about to pick it, and then still scampered through the trenches to get all the way down the field.
All the times.
Yeah. Like it's just like he turned what should have been a pick six into a touchdown. Yeah. It's just like this guy was a 12-point swing, and you're acting like you're good.
Yeah.
Like it's crazy.
Brock Purdy has been playing a lot better than Jimmy G ever was.
He actually looks like he can throw the football accurately down the field to his guys. Like he looks like he's throwing dimes.
Where this offense to me feels like it lifts Jimmy Garoppolo up, makes him better than he is. If anything, like this offense might be holding Brock Purdy back a little bit because I think that there are certain things that Brock Purdy might be able to do that this offense doesn't really call for. It doesn't fit with their scheme.
Yeah, but even so, this offense is incredible. So
absolutely. I don't mean that like in a negative way to say like this offense is terrible and the scheme is bad. I'm just saying like
fire Kyle Shanahan.
I think that Brock Purdy could be good in a lot of other offenses. He doesn't have to be in San Francisco's offense to be a good quarterback.
Yeah, he passes the eye test.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Jimmy Garoppolo, except for in the way, Jimmy GQ style, he does not pass the eye test as a football player.
I don't see a lot of other offenses that I feel like Jimmy G could, be successful in. And even
he's barely successful in the one he's in.
Exactly.
Yeah. So, anyway, on to Carson Wentz, who sucks.
It's absolutely horrid.
Some fool called Ron Rivera decided to start Carson Wentz in a critical game.
Well, let's be fair. Let's be fair to Riverboat Ron. He
Yes.
didn't know that it was a critical game.
Yes, let's be
He
fair.
had absolutely
Some
no
fool
clue.
called Ron Rivera
He had
started
no
Carson
clue
Wentz.
that this was a critical game. He thought that Washington could lose this game, and no matter what else happened in the league, they could still make it into the playoffs if they won in Week 18.
Mm-hmm. How'd that work out, Riverboat Ron? I think the riverboat sank.
I mean,
Hit rapids.
I didn't realize that they could get eliminated that day, but I'm also not the head coach, and they're also not my team anymore. So, and you gotta consider the fact that while I didn't know that they could actually be mathematically eliminated that day, I knew that if they lost that game, they probably weren't getting in. I knew that they would lose control of their own fate.
Right.
At which point
they would need to win in Week 18 and get a lot of help.
Yeah, I'm like, so you basically would, like, even if you can't be eliminated today, you are effectively going to be eliminated if you lose this game. I knew that. When I found out that they could be eliminated if the Packers won, I was like, I guess that makes sense. Yeah, sure. That adds up. I didn't realize it was that urgent, but I knew it was friggin' urgent.
Yeah, so they put Carson Wentz in naturally.
Yes, when I need a win.
One does.
When I need somebody that can go out there and just be a steady hand to allow us to beat this inferior team with no run defense and a bad quarterback who can't figure out how to throw the ball anymore, I turn to Carson Wentz. Yeah. I gotta have.
And then after he throws 2 early interceptions,
they were still winning.
And you are forced into it, and you get to a point in the game where you're forced to throw the ball. Yeah, give me more Carson Wentz.
He threw the 2 horrible picks, and they were somehow still winning the football game. They could have easily just said, "We're lucky we have a lead here. Let's go back to the other guy." Oh, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Like, they're not even our team anymore, and we're still like, wow, this is painful to watch.
Self-destruction.
Okay, let's be real. I'm not a Chargers fan, but I am in pain over what's going on with Mike Williams because of the stupidity of it. It's like, I like to see good football. You are depriving me of the best possible football when you do stupid stuff like that. It drives me crazy.
There's been a lot of bad football this year, and a lot of it has been a result of coaching. Like literally directly.
This is why I have a
resulting
list.
from coaching.
This is why I have a list, and Ron Rivera's now on the list. Congratulations. You're there. And somehow, you're not fired.
Yet.
Like, you're still, you're on the
There were
list
only
alive.
2 coaches fired on Black Monday. We're gonna get to that in a minute. I know that there were 5 coaches that were fired, or 3 coaches that were fired.
Yes, there's
during
5
the
openings,
season.
yeah.
But still, they're like, Eric has a good 12 names at least on his list at this point. It's almost half of the NFL is on his list,
Any of
and
those
all
guys
of
get
them are
fired?
deservingly so.
Kingsbury got fired.
And Kingsbury got fired, and the only other person who's been fired was
Lovie Smith,
who
was not on my list.
list.
Yeah, he was not on my list. I got no beef with Lovie Smith. I think Lovie Smith's best days as an NFL coach are over, but he's not on my list.
No, he doesn't do dumb stuff.
He got hired to get fired. We knew the deal.
Yeah.
Same thing with David Culley last year. The Texans only hire black dudes that they could fire, so they could hire the next guy they could fire while they're tanking, and then when they think they might win, they'll go hire their fresh cut white guy. And that's what they're gonna do. They're gonna go hire Cliff Kingsbury.
Probably.
Yeah, they're right. I mean, look at him in those turtlenecks. Those are spiffy. Go get him.
I lost track of where we were even on in the sheet. Talking about Carson Wentz, are we done with him?
I think we could be done with him. Hopefully the NFL can be done with him too.
I hope so.
Yes. Quay Walker, I believe he's a defensive back for the Packers.
I've calmed down a bit over this, but
I've calmed down a little bit because the apology that
Right.
he issued seemed sincere to me.
It better be.
But in the moment, holy cow, what the hell? Like, especially given what had just happened
The previous
the
week.
previous week. You're going to shove a trainer who's just trying to get to DeAndre Swift, who is on the ground injured. You're going to push him in the back? Why? What purpose does that serve? Like, was his manhood somehow, like, taken down a notch because the trainer just kind of, like, brushed past him and, like, put his hand on him to say, hey, I need to get in here? Like, what are you doing?
I don't know.
Like, can we all, as, like, humanity, agree to just treat every injury like it could be a serious injury and, like, they need immediate medical attention from their trainers? If somebody's down, just let the trainers get to him because you never know what's going to happen.
I thought that was common sense as it was. Like, just don't mess with the trainers.
I thought so too, but can we just go ahead and put that out there and make sure everybody knows, like,
Both people
because
listening
clearly
to
we
this
can't
podcast
rely on
will
this
get-
being common sense
Well, I mean,
because Quay Walker did this.
when you look at where he went to school, the common sense isn't that common over there. So, there's that.
I'm sorry, Evan, but Kirby Smart is not on my list.
Yeah, because he has
keeps-
good
he
players
keeps
and he
winning,
knows what
yeah.
to do with them.
Yes.
But yes, so Quay Walker shoved a trainer when he was trying to get to DeAndre Swift, who was on field injured. He got tossed out of the game, rightfully so. Was seen crying as he walked down the tunnel, and the initial immediate thought for pretty much everybody, including myself, was, what? Like, you feel like you're mad that they kicked you out of the game? Like,
He was mad they kicked him out of the game. He was saying I didn't do anything. I read his lips. I'm not a dummy.
Eye in the sky don't lie, man. It's
said
on
like
national
3 different
TV
times.
in front of everybody.
Look, man, I like I said, I've calmed down over it because his apology seems sincere. He's a 22-year-old kid. He did something really, 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 really stupid.
for a second time this season.
Yeah, but this is a repeat offense, and like I don't really like you very much right now, dude. Maybe you'll redeem yourself later on in your career. Maybe you'll figure your stuff out. But it's that there are certain things where a heartfelt apology on Twitter isn't just going to make me say, "Okay, we're cool." Like I'm not frothing angry, but I'm still like, all That was weak sauce, dude.
Yeah, and Alex brings up a good point. I think it's Devontae Wyatt, the defensive lineman for the Packers. I mean, he was also involved in that and kind of gave a little bit of a shove to the train, like when the trainer turned around because Walker pushed him.
Mm-hmm.
Wyatt came in from behind him and kind of gave him a little push as well.
Yeah, I remember there was a little bit of a scuffle involved.
So 2 players pushed the Lions trainer?
Yeah.
Why?
They're both Georgia players.
Oh.
Are they both?
Yeah, I knew Wyatt was a Georgia guy. I actually,
fellow Georgia player is being tended to.
that's right. DeAndre Swift was a Georgia player as well.
Yeah.
It's
What is going on?
I knew Wyatt was a Georgia player because we covered him in the draft.
Yeah.
Quay Walker, I had never really heard of until this incident.
I hadn't heard of him either. The Jacksonville Jaguars finished a season sweep of the Tennessee Titans to clinch the AFC South at 9-8.
Good for the Jags.
Yes, good for the Jags. I guess mention this: the Lions beat and eliminated the Packers in Green Bay on Sunday Night Football.
That game was awesome.
That was.
It was. I was.
The only thing that really disappointed me was that the Seahawks won earlier in the day because I wanted it to be a win and in, and it's nothing against the Seahawks. Like there's a part of me that is happy the Seahawks are in because like they played pretty well this season, and like Geno Smith had a really good year, and you know we don't really like Russell Wilson right now on this show, and so it's kind of nice to see them make it to the playoffs. You know, without him, because he was gone, maybe even in fact.
If Baker's silly ass could just throw the ball down the field to a wide open dude for a touchdown, instead he throws up a friggin' medicine ball and it gets picked.
The Rams had that game.
They had the game, and then Baker screwed it up, man. And he ruined all the fun, took all the juice, so we thought, out of Sunday Night Football. But Man Campbell said, He said, either we're going to the playoffs or they're not. Like, that's what he said. That's a quote. And I was like, that's awesome. I like that. No, but I do wonder if the season was actually on the line for the Lions, would they have run that hook and ladder play?
Why not?
It was cool, but you get away with that a lot
I
easier.
wouldn't put it past that coaching staff to go ahead and try. But but it's interesting because like if they run that and it doesn't work, and it's in a situation where they could be eliminated by losing this game, like where they weren't already eliminated going into it, would that have been a move that could have gotten Dan Campbell on your list?
I love Man Campbell so
He's
much.
coaching the Lions.
I love Man Campbell so much.
He always has the inferior team.
But that they're doing something kind of dumb.
They're doing something dumb, and it's a look at me moment. I would have to take it under consideration, but that didn't happen.
But it didn't happen.
And another thing is just like the fact that they went for it on 4th down, up 4 in field goal range. With like 2 minutes to go in the game, they could have just said, hey, let's kick the field goal. Trust our defense to stop this guy who chokes every year in these situations anyway. They're like, nah, we're going to do this on our terms. So I was like, I respect it.
Yeah, make them take the ball from you, right?
Yeah, like that's.
They still need a touchdown if you don't get it.
And the reason why maybe I would have hesitated to put Man Campbell on my list is because it was 3rd and super long after they took a ridiculous penalty. And the play worked. Like, they needed to do something to get closer. It's not like it was like, hey, it's 2nd and 2. Let's whip this out. Let's whip out a Philly special on the goal line because we're so cute and clever.
Yeah.
Now, this is a situation where it's like, we need a lot of yards right now. Let's get in the bag and let's go do this. Corey's wandering around him. I was trying to filibuster by the time he got back, and he just I don't know what he's doing. But anyway, yeah, shout out to Man Campbell. Shout out to the Lions.
They're both something cool.
Yeah, finished 500. They finished above 500, I should say. Got to kick the Packers out of the playoffs, which is something that, we know that Aaron Rodgers owns the Bears, but
They had a better point differential than the Vikings.
that's not a surprise to anybody because the Vikings are a joke.
So the Packers, by the way, they also finished with a better point differential.
Did they really?
I'm pretty sure.
Well, because the Packers took some rough losses this year. That's actually kind of surprised me. Yeah. All of the Vikings losses were rough.
The Packers.
Yes, right. Yes, that's probably that game's definitely the difference.
Yeah.
Like 41-3 or something.
They lost 40-3 to the Cowboys too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ridiculous.
Yeah. So I guess that's it on that game. I want to talk about the Bills briefly. The Bills rolled the Patriots in Buffalo. And I want to mention that Naheem Hines returned the opening kickoff for a touchdown. This is the
I got emotional.
This is the first game at all since for the Bills since what happened to Damar Hamlin, and like kickoff returns for touchdowns are extremely rare. Like there had only been 4 in the NFL all year until that kickoff return.
Yep.
So
And then he did it again later in the game.
and then he just returned another one for good measure to the house.
I had them on my. So Sean and I were playing in the Pro Bowl for our fantasy league this year, and I had the Bills on my team. They wound up being the highest score. They wound up being the MVP of the Pro Bowl.
I mean, why did you have to make up something for the made-up game already? Is my question.
What do you mean make up something?
You invented the Pro Bowl for fantasy football.
Yeah, I didn't invent it. It's other leagues have done it. I got the idea from other leagues.
Corey steals all his stuff from Reddit.
Never even heard of this.
A lot of it, not all of it, but a lot of it.
Some people have
And
too much
and
free
I'm sorry, I was rooting for Sean because I thought Sean's punishment was better.
That's fair. But like, not every punishment is gonna be like the same. Like that's the point.
Well, no, it's not gonna be the same, but there's
You're just too nice of a guy.
Hey, you're too
I'm
nice.
not mad at you for like rooting against me in the Pro Bowl. I don't care. Like, but I won, and
I
now-
didn't root against you during the playoffs, and you're
Now
friggin'
Will-
lost. Maybe I
now
should
Will's
root.
gonna have to wear something Ravens during the draft next year.
I was rooting for you in the playoffs. I was like, Corey's team should win. They've been the best all year, just like my team. So I'm just like,
They're mostly bounced.
I was sitting there having PTSD flashbacks to 2018 and 2019, just like, this happened to me too. This is so bad.
Let's see. On to the Houston Texans. They came back to win on Sunday, and the Bears lost. So that put the Bears in the number 1 pick position in the draft coming up, and not that this sentence doesn't make any sense. And the Texans don't have the number 1 pick. So that was incredible. Lovie Smith knew he was going to get fired. And he was like, you know what? On my way out, let me, just press delete on a couple of important files.
Go ahead and win this game for the Texans so that they don't get the number 1 pick. And by the way, I'm going to also give the number 1 pick to the
To your
team
old
that I
team.
took to the Super Bowl back in 06.
Yeah. It's amazing.
It's a nice little twist, yeah.
Yeah. And the idiot Texans owner, Cal McNair, who has 0 talents to earn being in charge of an NFL team. He was looking all frustrated and stuff. I'm like, you just won.
Meanwhile, apparently the Bears owner was like going around the stadium with a like a Yeti cooler, just like giving out. I forget what he was giving out. I think it was like ice cream bars or something to people in the stands. Which like ice cream bars in this time of year is like kind of crazy, but he was just so happy about this.
It was warmer in Chicago than it was the previous week, so it probably felt like beach
Warmer
weather
everywhere
up there.
than it was the previous week.
Oh my god. Well,
Christmas weekend was
oh, so cold. This is actually becoming a really interesting situation with this number 1 pick. Partially because, the Bears, we think, have a guy that they consider their guy, right? Like they seem pretty committed to Justin Fields, yeah. But at the same time, they don't really have a roster to suit him or anybody because they suck. And they could realistically reset their timeline by drafting Bryce Young and trading Justin Fields if they can get good picks for him. That being said, when you consider the fact that C.J. Stroud has until Monday to declare for the NFL draft, and he still has not. So there's no guarantee that he's coming out of Ohio State. That means that Bryce Young's really the only marquee quarterback that's seen as top 5 pick type of player.
Apparently Will Levis out of Kentucky is one of those guys.
Okay. But that
What year is Caleb Williams in?
Wasn't he
Is he
a freshman?
He's not a freshman this year. He left Gonzaga at least 2 years ago, didn't he?
He
was at Oklahoma last year,
Right, yeah.
but he's not draft eligible.
Okay, he's got another year to
He's
go,
got
I guess.
another year,
Okay,
yeah.
Okay.
So if Bryce Young is like one of the,
Only like
Like,
real prospects left.
then
like,
the
you can
demand
get a
for him,
haul.
yeah, now you can really move that pick And obviously that's all speculation. I assume C.J. Stroud's going to want to go get paid instead of play for free. But
He ain't go there to play school.
then again, Ohio State boosters got money, NIL money, come back to school, be number 1 pick next year.
Herb Street worked 2 jobs this season, so, you know.
Yes, he was getting roasted early in the season by Bill Simmons for one of them. Just mercilessly just getting torn apart by Simmons because he apparently sucked. I was like, I didn't think he was that bad.
He wasn't great.
He wasn't great, but,
Sort of sounded like the first NFL game he'd seen in a long time.
He called an NFL game for Monday Night
Last year,
Football.
yeah.
With Fowler. Maybe it was because he wasn't with Fowler. Fowler's his guy.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Well,
He was with Michaels, which
Al
I
Michaels,
hate.
who's the best play-by-play person of all time.
I hate the fact that they split up Michaels and Collinsworth.
Oh,
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't
Like
that.
that's a dream team right there. They had chemistry. They had been working together for over a decade, almost 2.
Collinsworth and Tirico has been okay.
Yeah, but
It's
it's not
not
as
the
good
same.
as-
But it's not as good as
Like Michaels plays off of Collinsworth's shucks stuff a lot better, I think. Whereas
guy.
whereas
Here's the guy.
Tyreeko's just trying to get to the next play. I feel like Tyreeko had his best days were with a certain racist guy who looks like a terrifying doll from horror movies, John Gruden.
Yeah.
So
Chucky.
yeah, it's a thing.
Where are we on here?
We are at Sean McVay.
You're
Oh, yeah.
hosting, man.
Yeah, Sean McVay, the Rams coach, thought about not coaching anymore.
Or at least not coaching the Rams.
Or not coaching the Rams anymore.
That would have been something.
I don't blame him for not wanting to coach the Rams, but it's his fault they're this bad.
It is.
Is it though?
He made them this way.
Oh, I guess.
He's the one that said we're not gonna have any draft picks ever, and we're gonna just trade for a bunch of superstars, and then
It worked.
barely.
Year, and then gave them 5 wins this year.
I think. Like,
Well, I mean, I take a 5-win season a year after winning the championship.
I
The
feel.
championship,
I,
right?
I
The whole
feel like
point-
this exposed that strategy as being really bad, though. They got lucky to win
high
the
risk,
Super Bowl.
Certainly.
It's
But
high
Let's say
risk.
I'm not gonna settle for a 5th place finish next year in the WCC Cross Country Championships after winning this year. I want another win.
To sell out to maybe win a Super Bowl if you get lucky and then suck for 5 years, it's a terrible strategy.
Yeah, I mean, it's not very good. But
The math ain't
you can't
mathing.
deny that it did work the one time.
They did get the Super Bowl. I golf clap for that. But I'm really happy because I respect Sean McVay a lot. I think he's a really good coach. I used the word impressive when he was first hired just because of his decorum at the presser, and he clearly can motivate his guys and stuff like that. Man, if you walk away from the mess you made because you have some adversity, it's like, oh no, we suck and it's all my fault. I'm gonna go work on
I definitely have
TV.
a lot less respect for
like
if he did
LeBron.
that.
Yes, it is LeBron-esque, where LeBron's just like, you go over here now. It's like, but you're the coach, man. You're supposed to be the leader of men, right? Like LeBron's a player, and LeBron never asked for trades. He played out his contract and then left.
Well, LeBron asked for trades of other people, though.
Sure. Yeah, he was the GM, but that's not the same as I'm gonna retire or I'm gonna go work on TV because I don't want to do this anymore. Like Sean Payton did that, but Sean Payton was there with the Saints for 15 years. Like it's a little different.
Well, I mean, you picked him as coach of the year.
Yeah, I mean that's also my fault. If I had picked McVay as coach of the year, he would have retired.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I picked Brandon Staley, and I'm like, he's trying so hard to get fired. And I don't think he's going to. It's
He
making
still
me.
might.
Yeah.
If they lose to the Jags.
If they lose to the Jags specifically because we don't have any people downfield that are open. What happened to that guy? Oh, he broke his back in a meaningless game. Thanks.
Broke his back.
Unbelievable. Like there's when people say stuff like, "Oh, well, some people's philosophy is to play the players instead of rescue them." Well, that philosophy's wrong. Okay, You're wrong. You're doing it wrong. You don't play star players in meaningless football games.
So is Doug Peterson on your list?
When did he do that?
Week 17. Jags played a meaningless game.
Okay, but that's they still had another game to play.
So did the Chargers. They have another game to play.
It's not the same.
It's a playoff game exactly the same as the Jaguars.
And
the Jaguars game against the Titans was the playoff game.
And by the way, the game
loser went home.
The game was also not meaningless for the Jaguars because they could have been a wild card team even if they had lost to Tennessee.
If the Steelers had lost to Cleveland, then
they still had a path to get in.
Touche.
So it's not the same thing. So also Doug Peterson quit on a game in the middle of it, so like bad news with the Eagles. So he might be on my list just for that anyway. Although it made Joe Judge really mad, and he felt like he could get up and pout about the fact that his 6-10 Giants didn't get into the playoffs.
The 6-10 team didn't make the playoffs.
And he's whining about what the Eagles did. I'm like, y'all went 6-10.
Consider coaching your team to not be awful for 5 minutes.
It's pathetic.
Didn't consider that. Is Brandon Staley getting Mike Williams injured? Is that on here somewhere? I don't see it. But
no, but we would have been talking about that when we got to the Chargers-Jaguars game.
Mm-hmm.
That's pretty significant.
Yes.
Yes.
That Mike Williams is not going to be in that game because Mike Williams has been good this season.
Well, especially because Mike Williams, he's so temperamental. He gets hurt all the time. Mm-hmm. He's an intimate roller coaster. He's not going to be out there all day,
No.
So you got to be ready to have him in bubble wrap when it doesn't matter.
Coaster's going to be delayed in the app.
Yeah. That's Mike Williams. That's his whole career. He's the best receiver in football when he's on the field, it seems. Mm-hmm. He does everything until he tweaks a hammy or he bangs his knee on the turf. He's not very reliable.
Or he lands on the ground on his feet and rolls his ankle just a little bit, and he's just
a little tweak. Yeah.
He didn't land on anybody. He just landed on the ground.
No, you needed him. You need to put him in Radon Randall's egg machine or whatever to keep him healthy. Just there's no reason for him to be out there. And what do you know? He's hurt. He won't be back for them until the Super Bowl that they won't be making. So
yeah. So that's a disaster. Let's see.
Planet.
Jim Caldwell apparently has been offered the Commanders' offensive coordinator position. Why? The head coach needs to go too over there.
Sure, in the head
coach
coach
when
position.
I first saw the headline, I was like, wait, did they fire Ron Rivera?
No.
Imagine Jim Caldwell,
Jim Zorn situation.
a successful coach who's better than Ron Rivera,
took the Lions to the playoffs,
having to take a job where he has to work under an inferior coach who has done everything in his power to get fired. The insult.
Still can't manage that. Ron Rivera can't even figure out how to get fired right.
Did Jim Caldwell take them to the playoffs twice?
Yes, the Lions went to the playoffs
Twice.
Unbelievable. And they're like,
so
no, fire this guy.
He turned down the Commanders. To be clear, Jim Caldwell turned down the Commanders. Says he's only considering head coaching jobs.
As he should.
Yeah.
He's not only a head coaching candidate; he's one of the better ones out there.
Yes. Yeah.
Lions never should have fired him for Matt Patricia.
Oh, absolutely not. I knew that was a blunder.
Ultimately, it seems like Man Campbell may be working out for them.
But we know Matt Patricia did not work out.
But and
I saw that coming a mile away.
Love me some Man Campbell, but there's no way you can tie Man Campbell to Jim Caldwell. There's a big elephant in the room right between them, and he wears his backwards hat and his pencil in his ear with his laminate, and he is quite big. And he was a terrible coach. And an even worse offensive coordinator.
I'm sorry,
worse defensive coordinator, probably.
He was the all-time greatest defensive coordinator. Did you see the play?
He coordinated the Malcolm Butler play. Yeah.
He intercepted.
Yes.
Russell Wilson.
He got his fat ass out there and picked that ball off. Did you see that? That was a feat.
Mm-hmm.
Alex Mayo says Dorsey for Kami's head coach.
Dorsey?
Like the Bills coordinator.
Dorsey?
The guy that was freaking out against the Dolphins. He was slamming all the stuff in the booth. You didn't see that?
Because he was happy or something?
He was furious.
He's the one who the NFL ended up sending a memo out later because they'd already sent a memo about players abusing the surface towels.
Yeah, because Brady broke two of them. Yeah.
Well, then they sent one out to all staff from teams because of Dorsey.
Yeah, because the Bills ran out of time.
He was breaking it, and then somebody else up in their booth realized, oh, there's a camera there. Let me go ahead and cover that with my hand.
Yeah, he took the stuff and slammed it on his desk right in front of him, and it was something else. It was pretty entertaining.
Passion, though, you know.
Yeah, but I feel like that's you only get away with that kind of passion when you're melanin deprived.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I'll call it what it is.
Or in your house watching Mitch Trubisky.
Yeah, because there's no melanin deprived people there to judge you when you yell so much and make yourself sick. Apparently, which is hilarious. I've never heard of that.
I hadn't either.
So like, did he like make himself sick to the point where he threw up? Like what happened?
Almost, apparently.
Wow, I've been pretty mad about stuff. Never yelled that much. Oh man, that's
Mr. Trubisky will do that to you, apparently.
I just figured Mitch brought such low expectations. How mad could you get? But apparently pretty mad.
Apparently pretty bad.
Let's close out the head coaches who also got closed out. Kingsbury fired, finally, after getting extended in the offseason.
He did.
Yes.
Yeah. That was a Mark Turgeon play right there. Because Turgeon got extended, and then 10 games later, he's gone.
Cliff Kingsbury winning off the field and at the bank. Lovie Smith fired, we mentioned him. Arizona's reportedly interested in Brian Flores. This sounds like a Steve Weiss situation all over again. And there's more people who certainly need to be fired, right? Like, Ron Rivera.
There's got to be more coming. There's so many bad coaches in the NFL right now.
Josh McDaniels.
Like, and we know why they're not going to fire Josh McDaniels. It's stupid. It's stupid, but they're not going to fire Josh McDaniels because they can't afford to. They're already paying the old guy. They can't afford to pay another guy while they're
paying the
pay a
racist
third guy. Yeah.
Should have just kept Pit Boss Rich, man. Like that was the move. But
Should have just kept Tom Cable.
nobody needs to keep Tom Cable. No. They should have kept Dennis Allen for my sake.
Yes.
I wouldn't be coaching my team. He needs to be fired. What's going on with that?
He needs to go. Ron Rivera needs to go.
Oh my God.
Who else needs to go? Oh my goodness. Like,
Well, let's mention the people who did go. Nat Hackett, PI, he gone.
Nat Hackett is gone.
Jim
Frank
Harbaugh.
Reich, Matt Rule,
Or John Harbaugh, I'm sorry.
John Harbaugh.
Maybe.
I'm just saying.
Maybe.
What did he do wrong?
2 years in a row of lying about Lamar Jackson's injuries.
That just frustrates fans, but that's not.
I feel like his best coaching days are behind him.
He was going to get fired until Lamar saved his job.
He was.
That is true.
So, yeah. This feels like a Tom Coughlin situation where Coughlin was going to get fired, and then Eli threw the helmet catch, and he didn't get fired. And then he was going to get fired again, and then Eli threw to Manningham, and he didn't get fired. And so he re-upped right as he was about to die each time. Like he found, it's like a video game where you find some health right as you're about to expire.
Mm-hmm. It's efficient.
Well, John Harbaugh needs to find some health, or else he's going to expire.
Yeah, some hardware, perhaps.
At least a playoff win.
Yeah.
You ain't going to get that.
Sean Payton has his interest level has increased because there are now more jobs available. But my assumption is that Sean Payton wants the Chargers, and if Sean Payton was in charge of the Chargers, I think they would be, in the same class as the Chiefs and the Bills.
It would clearly be better off than what they've got.
Yeah.
I would love to see what Justin Herbert can do with Sean Payton as his coach.
That would be
Justin Herbert has all the tools. Like he has so much skill, and it's
I've been told,
not being put together very well.
And that's coaching. That's what
In my
coaching
opinion,
is.
In my opinion.
But he's also too smart. He makes the reads so fast that he comes off the reads too soon.
Who was it that said that?
Somebody on ESPN said that nonsense when trying to say why he hasn't
Being
thrived.
smart was a bad thing for a football player because that means he's not coachable.
Is this your tie back to why Josh Rosen got jobbed and he deserves a chance still?
He did get a bad chance with that Cardinals team, right? Like the Cardinals were a disaster, but Josh Rosen was part of the disaster.
Yes, he was just another
Very much
element.
part of that disaster.
I just remember last year Matt Ryan got pulled out of a game. They were getting blown out. They put Rosen in the first throw he makes. He throws a pick six, and they pulled him out of the game after that.
Somebody else who threw a pick six.
Yeah, it was incredible.
On to fantasy, Williams smashes Brandon in Sable Bowl 10. That's what it says on here.
No, congratulations to William Battle, his second Sable Bowl title. Second person now to win multiple championships in our league.
The other is no longer in the league because he decided to leave because he was mad that we weren't making concessions that would potentially allow him to win more than the 3 titles he had already won in our first 5 years. Something like that. I don't know.
He wanted to move the draft because it was inconvenient.
He wanted to move the draft. He wanted to do best ball.
Well, he suggested best ball because he was having a particularly bad coaching year. Where he's like, I would have won this game if my best was versus your best. I'm like, well, then you got to set your lineup better, buddy.
Yeah,
Like,
that's part of the exercise.
yeah,
That is the exercise.
yes, you get this many slots. You fill them with the guys you think are going to score the most, and when they lose, it's your fault.
Yeah.
That's the exercise. Exactly.
So, but congratulations to William. Really unlucky for me because I was the second highest scorer in the league during the first round of the playoffs, but I happened to be playing against the highest scorer. And then during the championship game, even after I left Derrick Henry in my lineup and he scored 0 points because he didn't play in Week 17, I wound up with the highest score in the league in Week 17 and would have won the championship. So maybe I should change my team name back to the Missing Rings.
Well, you're not missing rings entirely
No,
because I'm
–
commissioner of a league and you won barely.
Barely still
because
counts.
We decided to leave everything as the NFL left it.
Yeah, because
I had one player, my opponent had 2 players in that Buffalo-Cincinnati game.
yes. You were about to go down.
I was losing.
You didn't opt to just give him the projection? Because I know some people were doing that.
Some people were doing that. Some people were taking Week 18 scores. Some people were like taking averages from the season.
Some people just said split it and call it co-champs, but
There's nothing to split. There's no.
there's no pot, so
we
you
had
know.
a pot in that league.
Yeah. So I mean, maybe I got this wrong, right? Like having those handful of guys to just put in their Week 18 numbers made so much sense after I'd heard of it before, or heard of it after the fact. But
But they're also playing against different opponents than
Yeah.
they would have.
it's not a
There's-
Week 17 game anymore.
There's not a perfect solution because it's a crummy situation all around.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
if
I'll take the trophy.
I'm sure Corey's not feeling super awesome about how he won the trophy either.
Yeah,
so
it's like,
it's like okay, I won a league with no pot, and it's not our league that we're all in. So
and
it's
I
like
won it weirdly and was probably an illegitimate win.
probably didn't deserve to win. Yeah.
I wasn't even a top 2 team in the regular season in that league. Like I was one of the bottom 2 teams to make the playoffs.
Sounds like Cousin Sal's team that I think won a championship. Simmons was whining about how he's getting his ass kicked by Sal's crappy team in the playoffs, and then he went all the way. I was like, that's awesome.
Yeah, that happens.
I mean,
Last year I had a really good team in my Dematha league, and when I wound up losing to Rob Landini, whose team limped into the playoffs. This year I had an even better team in that league, and I lost in my first playoff game again.
yeah, I mean, sometimes it goes down that way. Corey won the Pro Bowl. Will loses Snyder Bowl.
Yep. So Will will have to wear a something Ravens during the draft next year because he's a Steelers fan, and that was the punishment I chose as the Pro Bowl winner. But yeah,
Y'all better hope I don't win the Pro Bowl at any point. It's going down.
Well, it still has to be approved by the commissioners.
I am the commissioner. I am the Senate here, Corey. So there you go.
Got to be approved by the House
Not
and the Senate.
ever.
And
I
not by
wouldn't-
the chief executive who gets elected every year because of something.
Yeah, we chose Steven for. Why did we choose Steven? Why did we choose Steven?
The league voted for Steve.
Why did we vote for Steven?
Because his name started with A and was at the top. That's why I picked him.
Is that really why?
Yeah.
I think I picked Steven just because I didn't want to pick Sean, just because it felt like we're just picking our buddies in the BRBA chat. I was like, mixing up, pick Steven.
So, but we'll pick somebody else for next year.
Pick Drew.
Jeez.
Drew is supposedly our co-commissioner of the baseball.
That's
fantasy
right.
league.
And
He doesn't
he
do
he
anything.
lobbied for the job too. It
Yeah.
wasn't like you just
He
tapped
was,
him
so
like you did
excited
me.
to do this, and he's done nothing.
Like you were like, hey, oh by the way, you're co-commissioner, Eric. And I was like, okay. Drew was like, I want to be co-commissioner. I got some ideas. And then he's like, all right, cool, you're co-commissioner. He's like, he doesn't even watch baseball that much anymore. It's just like, what's going
Are
on?
we even going to do fantasy baseball this year? I mean, I think you're probably why not?
We
But,
could, yeah.
I
It's
mean,
just like, oh, we need to do something to like.
Gotta kill some
it's an
time.
11-hour drive back here from Santa Claus, Indiana. We got to talk about something. Let's talk about this. Our eliminate a team from the playoffs contest. The winner between the three of us is yours truly with a perfect score. I got
pretty impressive.
all of the eliminated teams right.
Yep. So Evan.
It wasn't look like it was going to happen, and it pulled it off. Here's
the
quite a feat.
order that Evan eliminated the correct 18 teams from the playoffs. He eliminated Houston in week 1, New York Jets in week 2, Carolina in week 3, Atlanta in week 4, Washington in week 5, Pittsburgh in week 6, Detroit in week 7, and then Denver in week 8. He eliminated Vegas in week 9,
The Raiders.
Green Bay in week 10, the LA Rams in week 11, Chicago in week 12, Indianapolis in week 13, New Orleans in week 14, Arizona in week 15, Cleveland in week 16, Tennessee in week 17. It's a little bit risky, but it worked out. And then New England in week 18.
Yeah. I mean,
well done.
If the Patriots had won against Buffalo, I mean, they had no chance. But
No.
had they
But if
won,
had
they
won,
would have gone.
They would have gone.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah. Eric finished
So what's
second.
y'all's excuse?
Eric finished second with 151 points. He incorrectly eliminated Miami in week 17, so he lost 2 points there.
Yeah, but I had to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then he eliminated Seattle in week 1, and that was an 18-point loss.
Baker could have just hit that dude.
I finished with 145 points. My mistakes were eliminating the Giants in week 1, so that was 18 points out the window.
They easily made it, too.
And I eliminated Jacksonville in week 11, and that lost me 8 points.
What NFC team did I eliminate, or did I not eliminate that I should have?
That's a good question. I did not look at that for either of us. So, and I erased our picks. I'm sure I can go back
I
to
don't
the
think I
previous
ever
version
eliminated
to
the
see it.
commies. I don't think I ever eliminated the commies.
Whoops.
Yeah, no, you didn't.
Well, because at that point I had no choice. I was just
Should have
stuck.
foreseen Ron Rivera, falling in love with Carson Wentz.
Yeah,
for
I
some reason.
guess I should have seen that coming.
And I never eliminated the Seahawks. No, I never eliminated the Packers. I don't think. Or did I? No, maybe I did.
I thought you did.
I think
I did.
everybody eliminated the
I don't
Packers.
remember who I didn't eliminate. Oh well.
Yeah.
Anyway, so
So
that's
I
how
win.
that went.
Yeah, perfect score for me.
Congratulations.
Woo!
Yes. Let me pat myself on the back. Let's go to the quick reads, the best and worst of Week 18. For Football Outsiders, the best quarterback was Justin Herbert, and the worst was Sam Darnold. That sounds about right. The best running back by total was Nick Chubb, and the best running back by rushing was Alexander Madison. The worst running back by total and rushing was Dalvin Cook. He's a
He
colossal
sucks.
disappointment.
He's not that good. He's-
Yeah.
And the best pass catcher was Jerry Jeudy, and the worst was Chris Olave. Well, I mean,
The Saints were. Sam Darnold had a 2.8 passer rating, and the Saints still lost.
Yeah.
what?
Yeah, they lost like
Sam
10
Darnold
to
had a
7.
2.8 passer rating for the Panthers, and they beat the Saints in Week 18.
Oh, jeez.
Yes, the worst quarterback on there won his last game.
Yes. So,
And you tell me Dennis Allen?
But Justin Herbert's team lost their game.
No.
They lost in Week 18 to
They
somebody.
did?
I thought they did.
They were playing the Broncos.
Yeah, they lost.
oh yeah, they did lose to the Broncos.
That's right. And they tried to win, and they
Oh,
got
my
one of their key players
goodness.
hurt. Joey Bosa got hurt
Yeah.
in that game, too.
Yeah. Oh goodness.
Unbelievable.
So, Football Outsiders also did end of season accolades based on the same
So
DYR
wonderful.
metrics they used for quick reads. So, at quarterback, so for each position, they did better than his standard stats, worse than his standard stats, most improved, and biggest decline. Better than his standard stats at quarterback was Zach Wilson.
I certainly hope so.
The reason is because his standard stats would suggest that he's like the worst quarterback in the NFL, and there were actually 5 or 6 quarterbacks who were worse than him, including his teammate Joe Flacco.
Oh.
Yeah, so he was better than his standard stats, but still bad. Worse than his standard stats was Justin Fields. Most improved quarterback by DYR was Trevor Lawrence, and the biggest decline was Aaron Rodgers. Not too many surprises there.
Zach Wilson's mom's friend must have voted in this poll.
At running back, better than his standard stats was Nick Chubb. Worse was Dalvin Cook.
Much worse.
Most improved, Josh Jacobs. No surprise there because Jacobs had been pretty bad. And
Yeah.
none of us wanted him
we
for
all
fantasy.
we all wrote him off. Yeah.
We were all fading him. Biggest decline, Jonathan Taylor. Understandably, dealt with some injuries and a really crummy team around him, and bad coaching. Wide receiver, better than Jalen Waddle, which kind of makes sense because, I mean, he's got another teammate there who's eating up a lot of the stats that could have been Waddle's, but he was still exceptional this year. Worse than was Deontay Johnson.
Worse. He smashed the all-time record for receptions without a touchdown catch.
Yep. But he did lead the league in 2-point conversion, so he was getting in the end zone.
Yes. Just
Not
just
for
on the
6.
little bonus play. Right?
Most improved was Stephon Diggs, which was kind of surprising me because I thought he was already really, really good. Like, how did he improve from that? Biggest decline, Cooper Kupp, missed just about half the season, so no surprise there. And then at tight end, better than his standard stats, Dallas Goedert. Worse than was Tyler Conklin. Most improved was Evan Ingram, mostly because of the last several weeks of the season because he did really well down the stretch. And then the biggest decline was Mark Andrews.
Turned into a pumpkin.
Yeah.
Disappeared.
Even before Lamar got hurt, Mark Andrews wasn't really doing much of anything.
He had already turned into a pumpkin.
Yeah.
I think that's it. So on to our picks now. There's only 6 games this week.
Yeah, that's less for me to lose, so I'm happy about that.
Yeah. So you at home can enter our weekly and I guess season-long picks contest by sending us an email at thesportsballers@gmail.com or slide into our Twitter DMs at sportsballers18 with your email address, and Corey will send out the Google form or Google poll or whatever.
I already sent out the ones to people who have been subscribed.
Okay.
But if other people want to play, send us that email at thesportsballers@gmail.com, and I'll get that to you before the games start tomorrow.
Alrighty. Congratulations to James Daly on winning our regular season fan contest with 124 correct picks. Andrew Perez finishes second with 121, and Sean Kennedy had 115. Between the three of us, Corey went 140, 124, and 5. I went 500, 132, and 132, and 5. Eric 129, 135, and 5.
Not very good.
Yeah.
This was your exercise.
That's the reason I only picked 5 every week. I didn't pick all 16. Because this is what would happen with the other 11.
Well, maybe next year we need to do confidence so that you can pick which ones are your 5.
Yes, the confidence and the
And the
spread.
spread.
No. I'm fine. I'd rather have like locks of the week or something like that other people do or whatever.
Yeah. Let's see. There's no more teams to eliminate, so let's get into the games. The first game, Saturday at 4:30 p.m., Seahawks at 49ers. 49ers are favored by 9.5 points. I have filled in my picks already. I have the San Francisco 49ers rolling the Seattle Seahawks. I am reminded of when the 49ers were the number 1 seed in the 2019 playoffs, and after their bye week, they're hosting Kirk Cousins and the Vikings. And I think the 49ers won by like 50 or something. It was not close.
It was ugly.
Cousins just got sacked again.
Yeah.
So, the Niners don't seem like a playoff chokey type team, and the Seahawks are just happy to be here.
During the preseason, when we were doing our regular season preview and making our picks for the Super Bowl, my pick for the Super Bowl was the Bills against the 49ers. And pretty early in the season, I was starting to feel like, the other team that I was considering for that NFC spot was the Eagles. Maybe I should have gone with them.
You still maybe should have gone with them.
And maybe I still should have, but I'm feeling a lot more confident about my pick of the 49ers at this point in the season than I was after week 3 or 4. Congratulations for being here, Seattle. But I don't think that this is going to be particularly close. Like, Seattle's rush defense is not that good. Their pass defense is kind of lackluster these days, and I think that Christian McCaffrey is going to be a huge problem for them. Deebo Samuel hasn't really been a huge problem for anybody this year. He's been kind of so-so this season, but Brandon Ayuk has taken a big step forward, and because Deebo is still going to be, taking the heat of the defensive secondary's attention, Ayuk is probably going to get open, and he's going to make some plays. Again, we talked about Brock Purdy. He's been good. I think that he's going to play well in this game. So, yeah, 9.5 is a lot, especially for a playoff game.
Okay.
But I'm taking the 49ers as well. I'm on the same page as you, Evan.
Eric, who you got?
Well, considering that the coach of the Seattle Seahawks said, unfortunately, we're playing the 49ers this week, I think it's a pretty safe bet. He doesn't have confidence in his squad.
You don't get to play the LA Rams in the playoffs this year. I'm sorry.
No. No. Give me the 49ers. I'll lay the points gladly.
Alrighty, the Saturday night nightcap. Los Angeles Chargers favored by 2.5 points at Jacksonville Jaguars. The vibes to me feel like the wrong team is favored. Like I think I'm pretty sure the Chargers are better than Jacksonville. Like I'm pretty certain of that. But Jacksonville seems to have some positive juice going. And the Chargers, with their idiot coach getting key players hurt in a meaningless game. And it's not like the Chargers, we're playing at the same time as the Ravens and could have fallen back in the seeding. The Ravens had already lost before the Chargers game kicked off. So, Brandon Staley, you should have known who to sit and that you were playing a meaningless game. But now you're playing a meaningful game and you don't have certain guys. So, I think the Jags are going to win and the Jags are getting points. So, I am locked in with all the Waffle Houses and Duval County as well.
I still have a feeling that the Chargers are going to win this game. But I said earlier, one of my coworkers was asking me who I was thinking about taking in each of the 6 games. And I told him I'd probably take the Chargers straight up. But if the Jaguars are getting any points, I'm taking the points and I'm taking the Jaguars. This is going to be a close game. The Jaguars are a strong team, and I don't think the Chargers are going to be blowing anybody out. So, in this situation, I'm getting 2.5. I'm taking the Jaguars.
On one hand, Trevor Lawrence looked absolutely horrendous in that must-win game against the Titans. Like, the Jags probably shouldn't even be here if not for a third-string quarterback throwing a pick six or a fumble six, I guess it was, to give the game away. That being said, Trevor Lawrence has never lost a game on a Saturday. Didn't do it in high school, didn't do it in college, and hasn't done it in the NFL
he didn't do it
either.
Last year,
yeah,
last week.
Yes, exactly.
Last week was on Saturday.
He is invulnerable on Saturdays. The prince who was promised is apparently unbeatable on Saturdays.
That's why he doesn't cut his hair.
Yeah, he's like Samson.
So you're taking the Jaguars?
Nah, give me the Chargers.
Oh.
I'm gonna zag. This is gonna be the week that breaks the trend.
Go
Chargers. I don't trust the Jags.
All that build up.
Well, the Chargers are better, right? So,
I said that.
you did say that, but you're believing in the vibes. The vibes, man.
Yes.
I'm not as high on the vibes.
Okay.
Just not as high on the vibes.
I think Brandon Staley gets fired this week as well.
I will say this. This might be a little bit of an emotional hedge because I want Staley to get fired so badly. And if he wins this one, he won't get fired, but I win. If he loses this one, he should get fired, but I lose. So,
What if the Chargers don't cover?
I'm willing to take that risk.
Okay. On the Sunday at 1 o'clock, Dolphins at Bills, where the Bills are favored by 13.5. Again, with the vibes being so positive after what happened to Damar Hamlin a couple weeks ago. I've got Buffalo just for that reason. Lay the 13.5. And then you factor in how the team from South Florida is going to go play in cold and windy Buffalo. And then you factor in how the team from South Florida in cold and windy Buffalo is on their third string quarterback as well. Skylar Thompson. The Dolphins aren't going to be able to score. Like we suffered through their Week 18 game on the red zone when they won 9-6 against the Jets. The Dolphins had no chance in this game. So nobody circles the wagons like the Buffalo Bills.
Yeah, I'm much more concerned. I'm not as concerned about the weather just because we saw Miami go up to Buffalo in the snowballs. I don't want to call it the snow because it stopped snowing, but the fans were throwing snow all over the field. And they hung with the Bills in that game. They almost won that game. That was a really, really good game. But Tua was playing. Yeah. And Tua's not playing.
He's not going to be here.
He's like Magic Johnson. He's not going to be here. And neither was Teddy Bridgewater. And I think that this team, despite all the controversy that Tua seems to draw just because people think he sucks even though, he was playing well. His receivers are so good,
He was the next guy behind Jimmy Garoppolo on DVOA, and he actually deserved it. Like, he was actually really good this year.
Sure, but like a lot of people say, oh, he's got a noodle arm and blah, 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 and Tyreek Hill bails him out all the time. You know the deal. Mm-hmm. But it's pretty clear his value. When he's not there, they suck. And when they're not there, they end up being 13.5-point underdogs, and it ain't enough. I'm taking the Bills. You would need to give me 17 and not pick Buffalo here.
It's not going to be windy in Buffalo. 5 mile an hour.
Why'd you write down Dolphins?
Oh, sorry.
Yeah. 30-degree high on Sunday.
So my concern with Buffalo minus 13.5 has nothing to do with the Dolphins. My concern is, are the Buffalo Bills going to stay on the gas if they're up by 17 late in the game, or are they going to wind up giving up a garbage time touchdown that makes it a 10-point game?
I mean,
Buffalo's going to be up big, in my opinion, at some point in this game. But I don't think they're ever going to be up enough that, like, that backdoor cover is not open. And I feel like the Dolphins have enough skilled players on their team that even with Skylar Thompson at quarterback, if the Bills kind of back off just a little bit because they want to make sure they're ready for next week, Dolphins could sneak in there. Mm-hmm. With that being said, I think the more likely scenario is that the Bills are up by a lot, enough that's a moot point. I'm also taking the Buffalo Bills.
You said all that stuff to make a moot point.
It's like me with the Prince who was promised on Saturday. I decided not to pick them.
Alrighty. Sunday afternoon at 4:30, Giants at Vikings, where the Vikings are favored by 3 points. This is the official fraud bowl because the Giants have been punching above their weight class, and the Vikings have been punching below theirs, but still winning anyway.
You know what? But credit to Brian Dable.
Absolutely, yeah. That's what I'm saying, right? Like
Coach and Danny Nichols.
Yeah, I thought we called him Danny Pennies. He's up to Nichols.
We've upgraded him to Nichols because he's played.
If he
well.
if he wins this game, might bring him back to Danny Dimes.
Oh, okay.
He could be Danny Quarters by the end of the decade.
Yeah, I mean, he might be Danny Dollars this week. I've got the Giants with the big. I think the Giants win outright as well. I might be. Now it's legal in Maryland. Might be putting down a couple dollars on Big Blue, and the Vikings are one of the most snake-bitten playoff teams like ever. When the Vikings go to the playoffs, bad stuff happens to them.
Not against the Saints.
Well, not against the Saints. Well, the Saints are snake-bitten too, right? Like,
now I will say this. The Vikings.
The Saints at least have a Super Bowl championship.
That is true.
And it came at the expense of the Vikings. So let's keep that in mind.
Because Favre threw a regulation icing interception.
So let's keep things in perspective here. The Saints, they lost to the Vikings during the Minneapolis Miracle with Diggs or whatever. I don't think that Saints team is going into Philly and winning the next week. And we know Minnesota didn't. They got blown out. And then, okay, the Saints lost to them in the Superdome in 2019. The Saints probably aren't beating the Packers at Lambeau or San Francisco in Santa Clara. And we know the Vikings didn't because they got blown out. When the Saints beat the Vikings in heartbreaking fashion for those losers, the Saints went on to win the Super Bowl, and the Vikings probably would have beaten that Colts team in the Super Bowl too because they were better. But Brett Favre messed it all up. And Adrian Peterson deserves a shout-out too because he fumbled the ball like 5 times.
Oh, I didn't even know that.
They recovered like 3 of them. I was losing my mind. One of them squirted away. He was like 12 yards away, and somehow Peterson got it back. I'm like, get on the ball. It's just that game aged me. That's why I got this and this here. It's
For those not watching at home.
Yeah,
Eric's gesturing toward his graying hair.
Yes, it's because of the 2009 NFC Championship game in the Superdome that my team won. Stressed me the hell out. And then they won the Super Bowl, and that was really cool.
Yeah. Who are you picking for the Giants and Vikings?
Oh, did you guys kick it to me? I didn't even.
You just started talking.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I haven't made his pick. He's picking the Giants.
I got the Giants.
+3.
I think the Giants win.
Oh, the Giants are getting 3?
Yeah,
Yes.
Vikings are 3-point favorites at home.
Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Please give me the Giants.
Yeah. I believe the
Really?
the Vikings finished the season 3
Min-
points
yeah,
ahead in
-3.
point differential
They
of the
finished.
Giants.
Oh,
Because the Giants were -6.
Oh, were they?
Yeah.
But yeah, like the Vikings are not going to make up that point differential and get back to 0 in this game.
But
the Vikings might win the game, but I don't think they're going to win by
They win
3.
by 2.
Well, and the thing is, I feel like the Giants, yeah, they were fraudulent, but I think they got better as the season went on. The Vikings were just the same fraudulent team the whole time.
Yeah.
Like at the end of the year, the Giants, I thought they looked like not a good playoff team, but a team that deserves to be in the playoffs.
The only thing that concerns me for about this pick, because I am taking the Giants, is that at least Kirk Cousins does have experience in the playoffs, whereas the Giants don't. Danny Dimes doesn't. Saquon has Saquon Barkley been in the playoffs?
The Giants haven't been to the playoffs since like 2016.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They haven't been in the playoffs since.
They've been the worst team in the NFL since 2016.
Yeah. So like nobody there has experience in the playoffs.
I don't really.
But I still,
Okay.
I'm still.
Yeah, I'm not a playoff
Are
experience.
you going to root
guy
for
in the
Kirk
NFL.
Cousins in a big game? This is the Sunday at 4:30. You know,
Please, I'm a Lions fan. I'm not rooting for the Vikings.
Corey is wearing a Lions shirt, by the way. On to Sunday Night Football.
Lions might have been better than the Vikings this year.
They were
I think
definitely
they
better
were.
than
I think
the
they were, yeah.
Vikings.
They should have beat them both times.
Yeah.
Those 5 games after week 1 were brutal.
For your Lions.
Yes,
Your
for
Lions,
Yeah.
your boys.
my boys.
Speaking of your
Danny
boys,
Campbell.
let's get to my boys in this impending disaster. I don't know why NBC picked this game for Sunday Night Football. Ravens at Bengals. Bengals are favored by 9 points. I've got the Bengals just because, like, the Ravens have been just barely holding on the past month and a half without Lamar Jackson. Even when Lamar was in, they didn't look, all that great. And it's just like this Ravens team just needs to be put out of its misery. It's just, let's figure out something for 2023 because this is just it's not there. I think the only way the Ravens win this game is if, like, the greatest defense of all time gets played in Cincinnati on Sunday night, and I certainly am not expecting that. The Bengals and Jamar Chase, in particular, seem to have the Ravens' number, and I spent a whole bunch of money to go watch that once. So yeah, the Bengals they should win easily, in my opinion.
Last week I picked the Ravens
Why?
+7, and I was wrong.
Yeah.
They lost by 11. It is so difficult to beat a team 2 weeks in a row in the NFL. I don't care if you're talking about the best team against the worst team. It is really difficult.
It's hard to win any game.
to win 2 games in a row against the same team, because the team that lost did everything wrong, which means that the team that won has absolutely nothing that they can learn from it. There's nothing that they can expose from the other team that they didn't already expose, whereas the losing team has the advantage of actually being able to make adjustments because they know what the other team did well.
I mean, what's
so
the adjustment
it's
the Ravens
really
can make?
difficult to win 2 games in a row. I'm not going to sit here and say the Ravens are going to win this outright. They are not. The Bengals are going to win this game. But it is not going to be an 11-point spread like it was last week. And the difference between 11 and 9 is so minuscule. I'm taking the Ravens plus 9.
Oh, well, I'm glad somebody's, drinking the purple Kool-Aid around here. I feel like the only adjustment the Ravens can make is if, like at the 2-minute warning in Cleveland in 2020, if Lamar just emerges from the tunnel.
Well, that ain't happening.
Yeah. And just, shoves off the jacket or whatever. But that's not going to happen. So, Eric, who you got?
As Trace McSorley's being carted off the field. Oh, yeah, we had this other guy. He was in the bathroom. Yeah, he's back. Yeah. Anyway, I feel like I thought this line would be closer to 10 and a half. So I feel like I'm going to take the Bengals. I understand about tough to beat a team 2 weeks in a row because they have all the ability to adjust to you. But the Ravens' adjustments would be we need better players, and that's not going to happen. So I'm going to roll with the Bengals.
Alrighty. On to Monday Night Football. Maybe this is a controversial take, but I like how there's Monday night games in the playoffs this wild card weekend.
Simmons was upset because it messes up Guess the Lines.
So?
Well, Guess the Lines is a good show. That's his best. Him and Cousin Sal every Sunday night / Monday morning whenever you listen to
do
it.
it Monday night after the game.
I don't love it, but if it's the only way we're going to get ESPN, then fine. Now I just have to decide, am I going to watch, which version am I going to watch? Because they got the Manning cast.
Okay, so we do have the Manning cast. Okay.
So there's going to be a Manning cast on ESPN2, plus there's going to be Troy and Joe on regular ESPN.
I think I'm going to watch the Manning cast.
It's kind of tough for a playoff game because Troy and Joe do a really good job in the playoffs. But I want to see a Manning cast in the playoffs. That's going to be kind of cool.
I'll watch the Manning cast.
Anyway, Cowboys -2.5 at Buccaneers. The Buccaneers have looked like hot garbage all year. But their division was even hotter garbage. So, the Bucs get to host the Dallas Cowboys. Maybe I'm picking with my heart and not my head, but I really hate the Cowboys. I've got the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and the 2.5 points. The Buccaneers have Tom Brady. The Cowboys do not. Cowboys allegedly have black Kirk Cousins, according to some people.
Who's looked like it this year? I can't be honest.
So, black Kirk Cousins in the playoffs on primetime Monday Night Football. That's not what you want.
Not against Tom Brady.
Especially not against Tom Brady. Even still, I think the Cowboys are going to blow this game, right? Like, we remember their last playoff game, do we not?
Yeah, they blew that one too. Yeah.
Whoops to Jimmy G. So
on Nickelodeon. Do we have a Nickelodeon game?
I don't know.
I don't think so. Not in playoffs.
Oh,
not that I've
on.
Well, Dallas's loss last year was
on
a Nickelodeon
yeah.
game, and they put like a bunch of steam coming out of Mike McCarthy's nose.
So was the Nickelodeon game the game that Russell Wilson threw a pick and Patrick called it? Is that all we get? Is like some
I'll check
some crummy
the
regular
schedule
season
real
game between the
quick to
Rams
see.
and the Broncos? That's torture. Kids deserve better. Than that.
Kids deserve better. I got a lot.
Unbelievable. Come on, man. Noah Eagle, Nate Burleson,
No, Eagles great.
young Dylan, right? MVP. Did they give out an MVP for the Patrick Starr game?
Well, the defending MVP is Dak Prescott.
Dak Prescott. Yeah, and the previous one was
Mitch
Trubisky. Both losing quarterbacks who played horribly in their games won MVP because the kids know how to pick them. Mm-hmm. Did you already picked the Bucs, right?
Yes.
This is so tough because
That's the exercise.
there's absolutely not because the line, just because even if this was picking straight up, it's like
That's the exercise.
yeah. On one,
Confirmed no Nickelodeon game.
that's lame. Anyway, the Bucs are terrible.
Mm-hmm.
The Cowboys are good, therefore the Cowboys should win. However, the Cowboys are choke artists. Tom Brady is the opposite of that. Therefore, the Bucs should win.
So what's the tiebreaker here?
Who are you picking, Bassini?
Yes.
Never mess with a Sicilian
when
when death is on the line.
How about them Cowboys? I'm taking Dallas.
Oh, okay. Corey, who you got?
I feel like they should stomp them out. Like they should beat them by 12 or 13 or 14.
They should, yeah.
The Buccaneers this season have 2 wins against teams that are currently in the playoffs. They beat the Seahawks 21-16, and they beat the Cowboys 19-3.
That's all the way
That
back
was all
in
week-
week 1.
that was all the way back in week 1.
Dak was busy taking his thumb out of his ass and he broke it. You know, like
No, he found out it was broken. That's when he found out it was broken.
Tom Brady, in his career, has never lost to the Dallas Cowboys.
that is a fact. It's also never lost to the Atlanta Falcons.
Jeez. Wow,
Man,
they almost had him. Gotta be quicker than that.
the game 2 weeks ago at the
Actually, he
Buccaneers
lost to him
played,
this week,
where
so that's
Mike
over.
Evans just went absolutely off, makes you feel like the Buccaneers could potentially do something, but that was against the Panthers, who have an atrocious defense. Cowboys have a good defense. Their run game is good because Tony Pollard is really good, and Ezekiel Elliott has been pretty good when he's splitting reps with Tony Pollard and it doesn't have to carry the lion's share of the work. CeeDee Lamb has come on really strong over the last 5 weeks of the season because he was kind of early on, but he's really done well recently. How about them Cowboys?
Oh, wow.
Well,
On the island.
the thing is with the Bucks and Mike Evans is even though the Panthers suck, Mike Evans couldn't catch a pass, period, including against the Panthers. Evan and I were sitting in M&T Bank Stadium watching the highlight or the low light of Mike Evans just dropping a touchdown pass. Every week he had like 2 balls hit him in the back of the head because he didn't even know where he was supposed to be. Like they didn't know what was going on, and then like suddenly he's catching all these bombs from Brady. That is a legitimate worry.
Was it Mike Evans who threw that interception trying to target Tom?
That
Brady?
was
Or
Leonard Fournette.
Oh, that was Fournette.
Yeah, Lenny
Okay.
threw that. That was a terrible throw. That was a terrible play.
That was an
What are you
awful
thinking?
play.
Tom Brady's gonna go moss somebody?
Another coach that needs to be fired.
But guess what?
quickly.
Tom Brady made the tackle.
He did.
He got flagged for it.
He got flagged for it,
But
but
it
he
wasn't a touchdown.
he got the guy
But it
on the
wasn't a
ground.
touchdown.
McCorkle couldn't do that.
McCorkle just turtled on his back.
And then the next week decided to take a dirty, cheap shot at Eli Apple, which, it's hard to feel bad for Eli Apple, but what are you doing, Mac? Mac's got a history of being a bitch, so,
Is that included under soft cursing?
Yeah, why not?
Okay.
That's pushing the line.
I think it's right on the line.
Yeah.
They say that word in Big Bang Theory. So
Yes,
you know,
what I'm
there you
saying.
go.
They said it on Malcolm in the Middle, too.
They did.
That was on network TV.
It seemed like you'd say anything on Malcolm in the Middle. That show seemed a little
But-
edgier.
But the stuff I said earlier couldn't be said on Malcolm in the Middle.
Or on this podcast either.
Can you say some of the things on Malcolm in the Middle that John Mulaney says are said on Law and Order SVU?
That is a whole bunch of references I don't understand.
I understand the reference, but I'm just so confused by it, and I'm tired.
I'm trying to get some McDonald's after this.
We're trying to hit up the McDonald's. Any Woj bombs or anything?
Not that I've seen
We
since
did all
we
the
started.
games, didn't we? Look at that.
Yeah,
That's fun.
Only 6 games.
Mm-hmm.
Only 6 games. Nothing interesting as far as I can see.
Okay. Any shout-outs from anybody?
Yeah.
Shout out to Damar Hamlin first and foremost.
Mhm.
Oh, absolutely.
Shout out to Damar Hamlin. It's worth repeating. Also, shout out to, I already shouted out Danny Kellington for saving Damar Hamlin's life. Shout out to Man Campbell for being awesome. Yeah. And shout out to Jamal Williams for having the most awesome post-game press conference ever, where he's all verklempt and, emotional and stuff. And then he just goes straight up, WWE mode. It's like, they said we couldn't win this game type of thing. And it was awesome. If you get a chance to peep it, if you haven't seen it, you should check it out. And my last shout out is to a guy that didn't get mentioned, who is not on my list, and he never will be, because he is a treasure and that is Mike Tomlin for getting his 9th win this year and staying above 500. Didn't quite get the breaks to get in the playoffs. That's okay. 9-8, you'll take it.
They came close.
They
did come very close.
The Dolphins tried to blow it.
Yes, they did.
That could have been an interesting playoff team because that defense with T.J. Watt back was playing really
Kenny
well.
Pickett's got some sauce.
Kenny Pickett might actually be something. George Pickens is definitely something.
No, he's legit, yeah.
Pat Freiermuth is pretty good.
I hate his name.
I like it.
Freiermuth. Just
The
Freiermuth.
Muth is Luth.
Muth. Just not Muth. It's
I like it.
That was terrible, by the way.
Luth
is Luth. Oh my god.
That comes from the Fantasy Footballers podcast.
I don't listen to them.
You should. They're good.
I've already got too many podcasts.
Sure.
You only have like 5.
That's too many. That's already too many. It's already too many.
Yeah, that's the only.
That's
podcast
more like
really
10.
listen
I
to
listen to
on a
like
regular
10.
basis. Anyway, yeah. So I was also gonna shout out Mike Tomlin because I love that stuff that he has never had a losing season and that remains. And it's at this point like it's tough because you have to win 9 games to do that. You can't win 8 and be 8-8 and not have a losing season. Like you
Didn't
got
the Steelers go 8-1 last year?
no, because the Commanders are the first team to go 500 with a 17-game season.
Oh.
Shout out Major Tuddy. Oh my god.
No, that was Major Tuddy was definitely not on my shout out list.
But he's on my list. Not because he's a bad, arrogant coach, but because he's Major Tuddy. How embarrassing. Like, really? He rolled. Like, Danny's about to maybe sell the team, and as
It's the end of the season.
his parting gift to commies / R-word / football team, football club, whatever fans is to give him a pig in a helmet. Like, really? It's atrocious.
Picking the helmet is still better than that statue in air quotations for Sean Taylor.
Yeah, the Dick's Sporting Goods model that they had out there with the wrong brand of jersey on, by the way.
He's a Reebok one?
Yeah, it was it was a Nike. It was supposed to be a Reebok. Yeah, because the team didn't wear Nike jerseys back then.
Yeah. No, so those are my shout outs. Damar Hamlin and Mike Tomlin.
Dude looks like Wilbur from Charlotte's Web, and he's out there running around. Like, you couldn't have at least made him like a boar, like make him look like intimidating, like, really mean looking.
for the kids, I guess.
Oh my god, for the kids, Major Tuddy. Oh my god.
So, wait. So the artists formerly known as the R Words have a fuzzy mascot guy now. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah,
Yes,
he's a bright pink pig
How did
that
you
wears
miss
like
this?
an army helmet.
I'm
'cause
not
he's
a recovering
commander.
fan of that team.
Oh, I'm a recovering fan of that team.
This is Major Tuddy.
You gotta be kidding.
Let's see if I can get a bigger image for you. There we go.
What? In the world?
Oh my god.
I mean, I love it and hate it at the same time because I love mascots, right?
But he's not a good one though. Like, Orbit's a good mascot.
Orbit's the best mascot. Like, comparing any mascot to Orbit is too much.
Philly Fanatics kind of legendary.
I think I can. I can kind of like the mascot because I'm not a Washington fan. If I was, I would probably hate it.
My boss is a huge
I can
fan
live
of the
with it.
team, and he's having a hard time with Major Tuddy.
Well, Wilbon had a hard time when the Cubs got Clark, their new mascot.
But Wilbon has a hard time with anything fun. He's a boomer.
Yeah.
But Wilbon's come around on Clark because Clark is delightful.
Yes. Or Blooper. Blooper's fun.
Yeah. Better than Chief Nakahoma.
Well,
The
yeah.
Flyers mascot is still the best one in Ellis.
Gritty?
Yeah, Gritty.
Gritty's great.
Gritty's the best.
It's crazy. He's like an acid trip, but he's like walking around.
I love these squeaks when he moves.
I didn't even know that.
Yeah, he was.
I just know he had the
during
googly
COVID,
eyes.
He was like doing like the challenges where people were just like throwing ping pong balls off of like pots and pans, trying to get them to like bounce off each other into a cup.
Mm-hmm.
He was doing that, and when he would make one, he would like go like yeah, and his body would squeak.
Oh. Okay.
I found that out from last week's night.
Oh, I don't watch that show anymore. It's too depressing. Let's see. I want to shout out Carrick from Coaster Hour for having me on the Coaster Draft live stream.
Oh yeah!
And shout out for you
to Evan
eating a
for
W.
winning
Yes.
that coaster draft, going
Yeah.
away, won both votes.
Yes.
The YouTube vote and the IG vote.
I feel like the IG vote was more comprehensive. There's more people participating. Like the YouTube vote was like what 15 people.
I think so.
Your boy wasn't even able to vote.
Oh,
Yeah, 'cause I was watching on my phone.
okay.
Yeah, I was watching after the fact, so the voting had already ended.
Yeah, so I won.
Well, you had the best list, by the way. It was,
Well, yeah.
like
I
it was.
set up my board and everything.
Yeah, I was like, this looks like Evan looked like he walked in as a fantasy football drafter with a lot of
Evan did his
experience
homework.
against a bunch of guys. Well, Carrick likes football, so I'm sure he plays fantasy football. But
Yeah.
but it's like
Against a bunch of guys who pulled an Andrew. Thought they
Yeah.
could just walk in there and pick some good coasters and trust that the process would work.
they picked some good coasters. Evan
They
picked better
picked
coasters.
Good ones.
Yeah.
Right? Like, you
So
know,
somebody
why
picked-
Cal at Dorney Park around in the 9th round? Like, what are y'all doing? But anyway, yeah, let's get out of here. It's been over 2 hours with our assorted shenanigans. If you've made it this far into this podcast, please go ahead and smash that subscribe button so any new podcasts of ours will be beamed directly to your device right away. Corey, do you have any comments on the YouTube or anything?
Just the ones I mentioned earlier from Alex.
Okay. Well, I mean, that being said, we are live on YouTube with the audio on here. I encourage you to like, comment, and subscribe.
Maybe one day we'll have video for all of our shows, but
Oh, dear.
not yet.
I don't know that the world needs to see that. Anyway, you can send us an email at thesportsballers@gmail.com. You can find this podcast wherever you're listening to it right now. In addition, it's on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, and Amazon Podcasts. If we're not on your podcatcher of choice, please reach out to us and we can fix that for you. Follow us on Twitter at SportsBallers18. Follow us individually on Twitter at Corey Puffett, at Quagmire67, and at Evan_Ash13.
And we never say this, but the Myers Meyer in Quagmire.
Okay,
Well, because that's not how Quagmire is spelled, so just making sure people know how to find him.
that is true.
Maybe I don't want to be found. Maybe that's
Yes, elusive at Quagmire67. So yeah, that is it. Unless there's anything late breaking, let's go ahead and get out of here. So, in person, for rarely, for Corey and Eric, I'm Evan. This has been the Sports Ballers Podcast. Thank you all so much for listening, and we will talk to you next week.